Very excited to be hanging out with you guys this Saturday. Hope this is something enjoyable for you to watch or just listen to. And so, what I'll be talking about today and giving you guys a tour of is just the entire homestead. I'll be going around everywhere so that I can show you guys what's going on. And so, I'll tell you things that I did wrong in my homestead the last couple years. I'll show you things I did right. I'm going to show you things I've never shown on my channel before, things I just haven't gotten around to editing yet or whatever. So, if you guys have questions, let me know. We'll talk about everything. We're going to see the sheep, the pigs, the chickens, the garden, all that good stuff. Thanks for coming in here. Be sure to smash the like button, guys. That really helps me out. Really appreciate it. So, we'll just start here in the garden. Um, let's check this out first. So, sorry guys, I haven't done a live in a while, so I'm a little bit and let me know the sound stuff's good, right? I got a mic on here, so we shouldn't have any wind issues. All right, so this is, how old is this garden now? Gosh, maybe a year and a half old now. So if you want to learn how I built all this, I've got videos about how I did it all. No cows on my land. I won't be doing cows, only sheep. If I ever buy, 100 acres or something someday, and the way in the future, maybe. So here's how the garden looks in October. Going into fall, the coldest night I think we had was 40 so far. Look at all these peppers I've still got. And I'm in East Tennessee. And let's see here. We did a lot of peppers this year. Cayenne, jalapeno. We kind of like whittled things down, and next year we're going to go down even further. Just because we realize that jalapenos are really the best. And we pickle a lot of them, so that's why we like jalapeno. This is called Morning Glory. If you've ever been to Thailand, I can't remember the name in Thai, but there's a Morning Glory dish you can get just about every restaurant that my wife really loves. So she grew this to try it, and we actually made it, and it turned out really good. Nice, bushcrafter. Middle Tennessee is awesome. I love the whole state. Actually, I haven't been out west yet. This was a bed. Oh, this was my strawberry bed that I really just did not take care of. I'm zone 7A. I think that we're 7B really after living through a couple of years here and experiencing the weather. To me, Middle Tennessee is a true 7A. Okay, so let's go over here. So this is loofah. I don't think so. No, I've never grown loofah before. This is my first time, and loofah is an incredible thing that you can eat. I learned that this year as well. I'll try to find one. You can eat them when they're really small. Some other homesteaders taught me that. And but the main reason that we're growing them is to replace all of our plastic sponges. So washing the dishes, even body scrubber, all of that stuff. Like I don't need any of that anymore because of the loofah. So we're just waiting for these to dry out, and then on the inside, I'm sure everybody has seen what the loofah looks like. So I'm very excited about this crop. It's so prolific. I mean, it's just unbelievable how much this grew. I mean, it grew so much that it went off to the over to the next trellis, and we're gonna have sponges for the next year just from, I think we did 4 or 5 plants. So highly recommend loofah, you guys, if you've never grown it. And I don't have any, this is at the end of its life, so I don't have a good example of a loofah that you could eat. But when they're very slender and skinny, when they still have a little bit of firmness to them, that's when you can eat them, and they're similar to a zucchini. So I thought that's pretty cool. That's a really cool crop. I'm gonna keep growing that, and I think, man, that's like a really good value-added product. I think for from homesteads or small farms. I mean, if you put a loofah on a brush, or I mean a stick or something for a brush, I mean you could charge at least $10 for that. So I see a lot of potential with, you can blend it into soaps that you make. You can ship this very easily, and then it just grows in my area extremely well. So that was another really cool crop. I very um, didn't think it'd be that cool, but it is. So now we've got behind me sweet potato went crazy in here. This huge plant that you're seeing is sesame, and sesame grows well. We grew this because my wife's Korean, and if you've ever been to Korean barbecue, in America, they usually don't offer this. They'll just give you a lettuce wrap. But in Korea, there's always a sesame lettuce wrap. It's super good. Smells amazing. And I've even seen wild sesame here in Tennessee, which is pretty interesting. So these are just ones that like went to seed and then they grew up this year and now it's just out of control. So I need to take these down. You can tell my garden. I gave you guys some advice in one of my recent gardening videos of do not let your end of summer weeds go to seed. Well, I didn't follow that rule. So I'll have a little bit of a disaster on my hands come next spring, but we'll take care of it. So this is all sweet potato in here. There's some wild tomatoes, but now you can see that there's been deer coming in here. This is really the first deer pressure I've experienced where they've actually damaged things. They are eating all the sweet potato leaves, but it's all good. It's the end of the season, so it doesn't really matter. They're not really going to grow much from here on out. So we'll be harvesting the sweet potatoes come, in another month. They're dying back here once we get a cold night. This is asparagus. Did pretty good this year in its first year. This is Bermuda grass. I'm a really good Bermuda grass grower. So I hope that makes everybody feel good out there. We've all got weeds. I don't know. The artichoke didn't do that well. This is my best one. We'll see what happens with that next year. And what else we got going? Trees did pretty good this year. One really annoying mistake that I made, my mowers were broke for a while, my mower, and I had to fix it. And during that time, the grass grew up way too big. So it was like, and I had some of this stuff, which is like, I forgot what it's called, asparagus, or it's some really annoying woody weed. And it kind of looks like a tree. Anyways, I ended up running over two of my smaller trees because I wasn't paying enough attention. Ugh, so annoying, but that happens. But the rest of the trees, they're looking pretty darn good. They had good growth this year, so I'm excited for next year to see what happens. Maybe we'll get a piece or two of fruit, but I probably won't allow much to grow. As far as the garden goes, what else is there to really talk about? So let's see here. How's everybody out there? How's all your garden doing and stuff? Bring the chat back up. There it goes. Oh, this was one of the experiments that I talked about it on Instagram. The charcoal. So I had a bunch of if you guys didn't hear this story, I got charcoal. I make it myself. I put it over here to add to compost, and then I just let it sit here, and a bunch of rainwater ended up filling it all up. And what happened is I noticed 6 months later, this water, even through summer, was extremely clean. No bacteria. I didn't see any mosquito larvae, things like that. And basically, it showed me that, oh my gosh, if you just put charcoal in water, it'll really help to prevent mold, the algae growth, and things like that. And I've been experimenting with that in my chicken's water, my pig's water, and it is helping to prevent it. So if you've got a lot of algae issues, get yourself some charcoal, make some charcoal from a clean wood source, obviously, and you can add that to your animal's water, and it'll help prevent mold growth. It'll pull bad stuff out of the water even. And if there's some wood ash on the charcoal, that's actually extremely good for your animals. It's a dewormer, it has minerals. So saving fires is super good. Chickens are destroying your garden. Yes, I'm actually going to show you guys. My chickens used to be up here and they would free range up all through here. They'd go into the orchard and the gardens, but they started annoying us too much. They were crapping all over our concrete and just making a mess. So I had to move them down to a lower spot. So I'll tell you guys how I dealt with all that. There is a reason that activated charcoal is used in aquariums and has been for over 60 years. Exactly, yes. And I also learned that, people have used this in ponds. And a long time ago when I did aquaponics, I thought that using activated charcoal and then inoculating that with in a lake or a pond biology, getting all that in the charcoal and then adding that to your aquarium, your aquaponics system would be an amazing way to inoculate it and saying, essentially it's like an IMO, indigenous microorganisms collection, but for water. And what's his name? Potent Ponics, I believe is his name on YouTube. That guy does an incredible amount of stuff with aquaponics and combining biology and a lot of like cutting edge stuff. Okay, so let's head down. Let's go see the baby sheep. You know, my lambs are down there. I still got a pig. This is where my chickens used to be. Some of you may have seen, but they are now down here. I'll show you guys my little kind of tropical area. So let me flip the camera. So in here, I'm gonna be thinning a lot of things out through here. On this backside, it's difficult to tell, but there's so many weeds. I'm actually gonna bring the sheep up here to knock down a lot of this for me. But I've got an elderberry in here. We've got a couple different bananas. I'm very excited. This is a pomegranate. I've got 2 different pomegranates that are frost resistant, right? So just, yeah, great growth on this, and we got to get it to live through the winter. Hopefully it will. I will be putting some frost blankets on it. This is the other pomegranate. It's looking good. And then we keep walking through this jungle. I do have some pawpaws that I planted that didn't get that much growth this year. They're not getting enough sun. That's the pawpaw. I got a mango pawpaw and then something else I can't remember. So a bunch of these trees here are going to come out because the sun tracks right above here most of the year. So we'll thin this out, get more light into here. Yeah, I'm excited to keep developing this little area over time. So over here, I've got a few fig trees. This, you know, in the middle of winter, end of winter, I'll be planting a ton more fruit trees, of course. And I'm getting closer to be able to propagate things, which that'll be amazing because then I can just make as many free things as I want. So I got, yeah, fig there. I got the fig trifecta. Gosh, I can't remember exactly what varieties I planted. Canondria, I forgot whatever that name is, the green fig. I think I've got one Black Mission probably. I forgot the other one. This is the original elderberry on my property that got me interested in elderberry and made my first syrup, elderberry syrup from this guy. And I actually have some in the freezer I need to do. So here's the chickens. Here's where I moved them. Everybody's doing good. I think I've got 22 or 23 chickens right now. Nice, one more. Elderberry is sweet. I'm gonna make that a part of my farm planting. That'll be one of my value-added crops. So, all right, let's set you guys down here, and I'll just tell you about how did I train them to come back down here and stuff, and just some of the other observations that I've discovered through raising chickens for many years now. Okay. Sorry guys, I know the most live streamers just keep the camera still, but I want to show you guys stuff. Get a peach tree. Any idea on where to get a peach tree? Well, the best trees that you can plant are bare root. They've never been in a pot. So there's many companies online that you can order from. And you know, Etsy is fantastic. I found some pretty good deals on there just from people like you and I that propagate their own plants and then sell them online. The best thing that you could really do though is find a local nursery that is going to help you to pick varieties that will do really well in your area. So, you know, there's just tried and true varieties that resist disease and the weather and things like that, that it's just really valuable if you can talk to somebody local. So, you know, a local nursery, don't buy trees from Home Depot or Lowe's or those type of places, and do bare root. Bare root season's coming up. You plant those in the winter, essentially, when everything's dormant, everything's asleep. So, okay, chickens. The chickens do not stay in the net. So here's my explanation on the chickens. So I had to move them from up there like I discussed, and then get them to stay down here. So the first couple days, I left them in that coop till like 11 a.m. I forced them to just stay in that thing. And the night before, we had to grab all the chickens and throw them in there by hand because they wanted to stay up there, right? And then um, I set this net up electrified, and then I just made sure that they had a ton of food in here so they wouldn't really want to go outside, just an absolute abundance of food. And then that kept them within this really well. After about a week and a half, then I was like, okay, let's see if we can expand this a little bit. So now I turned off the electricity. I used a couple sheep nets or hog nets so that they would just go under that. And I just made it really easy for them to go under it, right? I just lifted up the net so they could go under. Um, so that the net, basically, I made the easiest place for them to go is away, going that direction, away from up there, which is where my house is. And then I kept feeding them on that direction and kept giving them a bunch of food so they don't feel like they need to walk back up there where they know that there's a bunch of good stuff. And then after 2 weeks, they just basically, they're down here, they've adjusted. I do have 3 chickens, 2 Americanas and 1 barred rock that will not get with it. They're like the more wild chickens, a few of them are, and they will not come down here. I thought, I'm feeding, there's food and water down here. I'm not taking care of those birds at all, but they won't come down here and integrate. So the only other thing I can really do for them is just like I could throw a net on them, try to capture them, and then lock them down here. So we'll see if I can get them. If not, they just sleep in the trees like wild chickens. They haven't gotten eaten yet. so so yeah, you can train chickens to a completely new area, even if free range. Now here's the other awesome thing that I've learned about chickens over the years and experimenting with their diet extensively, like constantly doing weird stuff to them to see what happens to their eggs. So I've raised chickens in a completely enclosed coop like you saw in San Diego, where I would bring in a lot of waste from my market garden and all those places, and they would get a lot of good nutrition from that, and their eggs would be excellent. The color of the yolk was excellent. All those different things, but they ate a lot more feed in that situation because they cannot go out to find anything. It's only what's in that cage. Um, and then I've also done like semi-permanent. This is basically it's free range, but this is free range. This is as free range as it gets. They could literally go acres if they wanted to. So now, what I've done the last few months, I've been experimenting with feeding them almost nothing. Like for 22 chickens, like 1 or 2 scoops, like I don't know what the size would be. Those big galvanized scoops, like 2 of those a day maximum. I did for a week, I just did 1 of those scoops. And what ended up happening was they went out and found the food themselves because they have unlimited forage, unlimited, right? Acres. And there's so much greenery, there's so many bugs, there's lots of moisture, which creates more bugs here in Tennessee. So just an unlimited amount of food. Uh, I saw a massive difference in the egg yolk color compared to when I was locking them in here and just gave them grain. Now, the color of the yolk doesn't always indicate the type of nutrition that's in it because I used to say that and believe that it was the yolk color only that identified that. But as I've done 100% free range and really played with the feed ratios, when I was giving them just 1 or 2 scoops, some of the eggs would come out more pale yellow, as if it was from the store. So, there's some different things that could be happening. Maybe the bird is not a good forager. She's just not finding enough good stuff. Her digestion isn't good enough to absorb all those nutrients, or that the color isn't the full indicator, meaning some nutrients will cause a darkening of color and some won't. And there's actually some farms that are liars that will feed their chickens beta carotene or a bunch of tomatoes or carrots or things that will deepen and darken the color of the yolk so they can sell it and say, look at all this nutrition and this and that. So there is that sort of thing that can go on in the chicken industry. But like if you raise your own chickens, you know exactly what's been going on. And anyways, I say all that to say, I think that we, or me at least, I sometimes feed my chickens. I was feeding them too much. I was babying them, right? So that they wouldn't go out to look for stuff on their own. So if you feed them too much grain in a free range situation, they're just will get a little bit lazy with it. So don't feed them, basically. Oh, and egg production did not drop when I've been doing that. So I'm continuing on with that same process, just feeding them way less, and I'm getting amazing results from it. Same amount of eggs, if not more, and then all the indicators that the eggs have more nutrition in them too. So that's just a tip for you guys. Um, Experiment with feeding them less. Don't feel like you're gonna starve them to death or something. The only thing that would happen is they just won't lay an egg. They won't have enough material and protein to create the egg. So don't worry about that. So, anyways, oh, and this coop, guys. You know, in the beginning when I created this, this is made from a dog kennel. It's an 8x4 dog kennel. Yeah. So extremely small, but 20 chickens fit in it, no problem. And I've had no predators issues with it. Um, I've got those trash cans there. Those are my extra nesting boxes. Milk crates are a great extra nesting box. And then I have just, you know, this one of those stainless steel nesting boxes in there too. But I've been super happy because I don't know. I think this is a rather than this is cheaper almost than like building a coop out of. Well, it's wood would still be cheaper, but um, you can throw this thing up in two minutes. I was able to move it, take it apart and move it. Anyways, it's a great backup coop if I ever build something nicer like I used to have. So I can fully recommend the dog kennel as a great chicken coop. Um, yeah, I got really no bad things to say about it. So okay, let's go see my last pig. So I just took, when we go back up top, I'll show you guys my meat that I got back from the butcher. But this pig is the last one. We're going to be butchering this pig next week. I'm going to be finishing with Tennessee Mountain Farm. We're working on a cool bot fridge system. So we're going to kill this pig, butcher it, and then hang it in the new cool room. And so he's a male. He's probably like 250 pounds, judging from the female that the butcher killed was like 200, and he's up quite a bit bigger. So I'm guessing he's going to be around 250-ish. Hey. So yeah, guys, pigs are amazing. You know, the last 2 years of building this homestead was I really dedicated the last 2 years towards learning how to raise animals and doing regenerative animal agriculture in practice. I had read about it and all that, and I knew about it. I knew it in theory, but I did not know. You never really understand or know something until you've done it yourself. So that's really what I've dedicated a lot of my time and energy to, even over making content and making money and stuff like that, is trying to figure out how to do all this, how to raise sheep. And maybe when we sit down later, we can get into why I think that raising your own meat is so important, especially in this day and age. I butcher myself. Yes, almost all my animals. That was the first animal that I've raised. This last pig that I didn't butcher, just because it's a heck of a lot of work. It's a lot of time. I'm trying to save myself some time. It costs $160 to have that pig processed. You know, it's all packaged. I get my pork chops, my he made sausage. Now we did get the bellies back. I'm actually might do a live stream with Blake, Tennessee Mountain Farm, when we do that. But we're gonna be we cured all our bellies. They're in the fridge. So bellies, hams are being cured, and then what we're gonna do is smoke them, and then we'll slice them. So we're gonna have all of our own bacon, all of our own ham. You know, that we did completely ourselves. Oh, and I need to make, like, this should be a viral video. I need to make a actual video of this, but this is something I learned from making my own bacon, guys. This is like a mind blower, honestly. So you've all heard of nitrates, right? Potassium nitrate and sodium nitrate, these preservatives that have been proven to cause cancer. Well, oh, pigs love bamboo, Daryl. I know, man. Believe me, I'm dreaming up my bamboo grove right now. Daryl, who just commented, I visited him recently, and we went over his house and all the bamboo stuff that he's got going on. He's got all sorts of amazing things going on at his property with bamboo. So he's going to be teaching us all about that once I edit the video. What was I saying? Oh, the pork. So here's the deal with pork, nitrates. Guess what, guys? Everything in the store that we're eating that we think has no nitrates, it's total BS. They're liars. So here's the explanation. So it's not potassium nitrate that, or nitrite or whatever it is that causes the cancer, it's once that chemical is heated, it changes to another chemical, and that is what causes cancer. Um, Now, sodium nitrate or whatever, they just use, that's a chemical, that's a synthetically created thing, but they use celery, right? If you guys ever looked at the ingredients on the supposed nitrate-free cured meats, it'll say celery. What does celery have in it in really high concentrations? Sodium nitrate. And guess what? There is no limitation on how much celery powder that they can use. There is no FDA limit like there is with sodium nitrate. So there could actually be more sodium nitrate on your cured meats than the synthetic version. Isn't that incredible? It's mind blowing, honestly. There's so many things about food I've learned the last 12 years of getting into agriculture that I am never I'm constantly surprised, and I learn new things all the time. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're able to lie and do this, but they do. So now, is the celery natural? Yes, it's natural, but I don't care if it's natural because it's not the sodium nitrate that's the problem. It's once it's heated and it changes to that other chemical, that's the problem. So whether it's natural or not, I don't think really matters. Okay, so now here's the beauty of it. Here's the beauty of it. Why do they use the pink salt, the sodium nitrate? Why do they say that we need that on our food? And did they use that 100 years ago? No, guys. They weren't putting that on their cured meats 100 years ago. The reason is botulism. Salt and sugar draws the moisture out of the meat, and that's going to eliminate most of the possible pathogens that could be on it. What it will not kill is botulism. Botulism is a soil-borne bacteria that you can get pretty sick from. It's bad food poisoning. Now, if you look up the cases in the United States, where are these happening? They're happening from dented cans, like if you've ever canned stuff with glass, the seal breaks, and that bacteria is allowed to grow on the inside of it, and that's how you get exposure to it. Now, that is extremely rare. The cases of illness is like 12 or something like that in the entire U.S. It's like 3 deaths a year or something like that. The people that die are immunocompromised, obviously. Anybody who gets botulism with a healthy functioning immune system and gut biology will knock it out, no problem. But you probably won't even have to deal with it because guess what? Cured meat, this bacon, once you cook it, even if there was botulism on it, it would kill that bacteria on the meat when you cook it. So the odds of it ever happening are so low, are so insignificant. It's a joke. So anyways, guys, you basically have to make your own bacon and your own cured meats if you want to stay away from the nitrates. It's the only way. So on my bacon, we just use regular table salt. And I did this last year with my cured stuff. I ate all that bacon and I'm fine. Anyways, guys, so we I always think like, oh, I know all the lies in the food industry and this and that, but there's always more. There's always more. So guys, if you thought that tip was helpful, hit the like button for me. Let's get more people in this live so they can hear this truth and this, really important health information, because I don't even eat pork anymore unless I've raised it. Let's just say that. It's a big freaking deal. All right, guys, so let's check out the pig a little more. He's a good boy. So this is a if you're curious on the breed, this is half Duroc, half Mangalitsa. Mangalitsa is a lard pig, really famous. They're from Hungary. It's a curly-haired pig. Tennessee Mountain Farm is the one who raises them and breeds them. My friend Cliff Davis of Pig and Leaf, he gave Blake the male. His name's Rambo. I've got a YouTube video about how we picked him up and everything. That was a fun video, visiting Cliff. So the male is Cliff's genetics, Duroc, which is really came out nice. I think the marbling is even better because of that. We'll go check out my meat later when we go back up. So I'll show you guys what the pork chops look like and all that stuff. So yeah. Oh, and that one was a 75-25 that we killed. So this is a 50-50. We like the 75-25 quite a lot because just, a little bit less fat content, more meat, better bellies. So we'll see what the 50-50 looks like. So yeah, this guy's finishing up here. He's doing an awesome job and just, you know, completely smashing, destroying things, which is what I want. I want this area to be torn up. I want things ripped up. Because this whole area behind me is going to be silvopasture. It's all of this woods. I'll be thinning out a lot more trees this winter, and I've been marking them so that I'll do more shiitake logs and then get more light in here so that I can get grass. Because this is like another almost 3 acres here. Okay. Okay, guys, we got more tips. Now this is a tip that I did in my last video about my sheep. You guys want to this guy? If you guys want to see that, it's a really interesting one about my new babies and all that. We're about to go see the lambs in a second here. This guy's about to shock himself. Oh, that was close. Okay, so behind me, how am I keeping this guy in right now? A lot of it is a net, a sheep net, and my permanent perimeter fence. But this part of the fence right here is just my 2-line. And that's holding him in because I have this net on the other side. So this is a really, really good technique for holding animals in that works for everything, honestly. Let's just say if it works on my rams that want to get to use in heat, then I think it can work on just about any animal. So the idea is the 2-line's extremely hot. This net is not hot, it's just a physical barrier. So that combination of them knowing that this is hot, seeing the physical barrier, they just feel as if there's no way to get through it. They're just screwed. They have to stay behind this. They don't even test it. And this is something I've also heard about deer, for deer fence. If you do a 2 fence like this, they just won't go through it because they don't think, like, they won't try to jump over it, things like that. So that's just like, if you guys are having trouble with keeping animals in or deer, a double fence like this could be very valuable. Okay, let's go to the field. Are you guys hearing wind noise? Live chat. I've got a mic on here that has a wind protector, but if it's getting loud, we can always go back. So yeah, the field was just hayed. Gosh, at least a week ago, 10 days maybe. We have not had rain, which is a big disaster because we need rain for the grass to grow well. It is, there's a decent response. The fescue is growing, but I am running out of good grass for my sheep. Check out my mulberry. I'm stoked. That's a Pakistani. That's like the best one. It has a super long fruit, so I'm really, really excited. Next year I should get fruit from it. And then this is the animal paddock, the permanent one I set up. This thing's been a dream. I just tagged all my sheep yesterday. So what I did is I ran them all in here, trapped them in here, and then ran them into my barn where we could do the work of tagging them. So let's go hang out with the sheep. I'll put the camera down and I'll actually look at the chat if you guys want to talk and stuff. But let's get a little closer so you can see the sheepies. So I've raised sheep for over a year now. It's been a year-long process just to get to the point of having the babies, the first babies. Getting into breeding is it's a long-term commitment. It's raising animals is serious business. That's for sure. I don't think there's any harder job though than the dairyman. Anybody who does dairy, that's the ultimate responsibility in terms of farming, in my opinion. There's no escape from it. You got to milk twice a day. Oh, thanks guys. Thanks ladies. I appreciate the sound update. Okay, so this is one of my emergency paddocks here. And so what I have right now is just, this net is not hot. So I'll give you guys another tip. Something that was I don't know if it's a mistake, but something that happened that went wrong. So this net is not running hot right now, and I'm just letting them in here during the day. We'll go sit down. Here, let's try. I'm gonna try to move them over here. We can see them. So you can see that's the big one there. That's a single. So she came out as a single, or yeah, she came out as a single baby. And then you can see the twins. The twins, they're pretty healthy, but one of those twins to me is still a bit small. I don't like her growth. The twins on the left, their growth is way better than the twins on the right. So some of the things I'm learning and trying to figure out is observe, what's the difference? Like, is she not producing as much milk? Well, if I look at their udders, her udder does look a little bit smaller. So maybe that's what's going on. But these are all, this is my, I've gone through, let me try to switch this around. I've gone through all the major things now with sheep. So tagging, birthing, lambing, dealing with rams, dealing with, I just saw something in my net. It's not good. Look at that. Something broke through that, or either something broke through that or I broke it at some point. I don't remember that though. That's sketchy. So that's why I'm not going to be leaving my animals in this area overnight, because that is not hot. And let's go sit somewhere so I can tell you guys some stories about the reasoning behind all that. Some of my sheeps that died, something bad that Coey did, my dog. Let's go over here. Here's Daniel. So anybody out there who's raising animals or who's considering it, these will be really good, very, very valuable tips for you that hopefully will save the life of your animals. And guys, hit the like button. There's 87 people in here. I only got 53 likes. It helps to push it out to more people. Oh, you know what? I'm sitting in the sun. Yeah, I'll just sit on the ground. Okay, so story time about sheep and things dying and all that good stuff. So, one of my good farmer friends that I've known for a long time now is Cliff Davis in Tennessee, who's an amazing pig farmer. He told me that if you raise livestock, you're also going to raise dead stock. And I thought that's an amazing quote. So true. Even if you just raise chickens, you guys know they die randomly, and this is just a part of the thing about farming. And until you really get into animal farming, I didn't realize how much animals die as a process of raising them just through accidents or things going wrong, or who knows, right? Um, so sheep and chickens, now that I've experienced everything except cows, I haven't obviously raised cows or goats, but I've been around them enough and talking to farmers that I think that like chickens and sheep are the most delicate. They're the most, easily killed by pest, disease, and predators and all that. So let's talk. The first one of my deaths with my sheep was dealing with this net. So I got two black bellies a while back, and they came to the farm. I trained them on electric. This is before my two line though, so I had to train them on the nets. So they were here about maybe 2 weeks. They understood that the nets were hot, but it takes them even longer to like really truly understand the net is a barrier. And what happened one night during a storm, and guys, storms are the most dangerous times for your animals. Things happen, like they freak out, you know. And what happened is my rams were separate. They ended up breaking out of that. It was probably my Katahdin ram because he's pretty ballsy. He'll just charge through an electrified net. Unless it's set up like I did now with my two line and the net, then he stays out. Okay, he broke into here, and what I believe happened is they broke in, they freaked out the sheep. My black belly, not knowing like the situation, she had never met the ram before. She ran, and this is the middle of the night, so she ran to the net, tangled up, and died. Um, so that's what happened, and so that is my main problem with these nets. The nets are awesome. They're very useful, but I'm telling you, I did a post on my Instagram about this net killing the sheep, and guys, like I got so many comments of all these other people saying this happened to me too. This happened to my goat. This happened to my baby, whatever. So this is a big freaking problem, and it's pretty frustrating that Premier One or like none of these companies even mention that in their I understand why they're not mentioning it because they don't want to scare people, but they should be telling people because it's actually a common occurrence. I actually think that everybody who has these nets, they've lost at least one animal from these nets. If you've used them for a few years, like it's inevitably almost going to happen. So how to prevent this? Make sure your animals are extremely trained to electric. They know the scenario, the system, the everything. And if there's going to be bad weather or if you have a new animal or some possible thing that could freak them out, I wouldn't put them in the nets. Or what I've been doing with these nets a lot of times when I have a new sheep, like all these new lambs, I'm not going to leave that net hot. I don't trust that they won't get stuck or something crazy is going to happen because they're not used to farm life yet and what goes on here. So um, that's how I'm handling it basically. And now I just do two line because it's way faster and a million times better. And I talk about that in my latest video. Um, Now, the other death. I got one more death to tell you about that happened with my lambs. Heat in Texas with chickens. Oh yeah, anything over 100 degrees for chickens is like life or death. And you're guaranteed to have some sort of losses. Your weakest birds are going to die in those big crazy heat events. But putting a bunch of ice on the ground in the shade where they can sit on it is something super helpful. A fan, a mister. If it goes over 100, if you want to make sure that they're going to live, that would definitely be a good idea. But I'm sure the people in Texas have figured out a lot of good ideas for that. Nice, Dolores. Good job starting a garden. Proud of everybody out there who's new to all this whole thing of trying to grow your own food, raise your own meat, and just know that I started with nothing, guys. I was like a suburbanite kid from San Diego, but in my early 20s, I realized uh, along with my best friend Jared Smith, that um, food is medicine. Food is medicine, and the only way to get that is to grow it yourself, to farm it yourself. And as I've gone through raising meat, it's the only way to get the best quality meat is to raise it yourself, or you have a personal relationship with a regenerative farmer, which have been difficult to find in the past, but now there's more of them than ever. There's so many websites to connect us to those farmers, so you can find a really good farmer in your area. You can also have meat shipped to you if you're really out of the way. So, hey Mario. So, hey from Germany, what's up? So, here's my second death story with my sheep. This one involves my livestock guardian dog, ironically enough, which I don't know, he's probably sleeping somewhere. Oh, I heard him bark. So what happened is, now this is obviously I'm new to raising a livestock guardian dog too, right? All of this is new, guys. So if you guys are just learning gardening, um, you know, don't feel, I don't know, discouraged or like when you fail, because you're gonna fail. When you're dealing with life, you're dealing with death. So it it's part of the thing. So just you got to be ready for a steep learning curve, and that's just what it is. So here's my learning curve with the boy over there. You might be able to see him. You see him? He's doing good though. He's barking. He's doing a great job protecting. So, my thinking with Koei was like, okay, he needs to be trained with the babies because he needs to learn all that process, right? And what goes on. So what I did is I left him in there when they had the babies, and he was great for like 5 days. The first single, the second single, and I think the twins came out, and he did great. He didn't hurt any of them. No, he was very gentle around them most of the time. He's clumsy. He's only 10 months old or something like that, so he's still got some of that puppy energy. And I've heard that the Great Pyrenees breed, a lot of these mountain dogs, they take like at least 2, 3 years to fully mature, to mature and be in that full protector, understand everything, like slow down from the puppy stage. Um, so I guess that's where my mistake was. But he was doing so good that I felt like he'd be okay. So what I did is I left him in there. Now one day I came down because I kept hearing all this baying, like what the heck's going on down there? Usually the baying is just the lamb getting separated from the mother, but I come down here and I see Koei jumping around. He's playing with them. He's doing what he tries to do with me, to jump on me, and which I've really cracked down on. But he's playing with the sheep as if they're other dogs, right? So that's um, so that's what happened. So what ended up happening is I came down. There's a baby lamb on the ground and he's not getting up. So I picked it up, I let it try to walk. It couldn't put any weight on its leg. I moved the leg, I touched it. I was like, oh man, this thing's broke. I could feel that it was broken. The parts were broken on the inside. I could literally feel it. Um, so then what I did is I put the baby in a splint, just to not allow it to move. And then basically what happens is the leg will fuse, it'll heal, and then he's good to go and he'll be fine. And lambs can break a leg, and you can fix it like this and they'll be fine. Maybe they'll have a limp or something, but whatever. And so I did that, but I come out the next morning and he was already dead. So from the stress, from maybe there was internal bleeding, I don't know, but he died. So now I know, no young dogs allowed near young animals because of that, right? Well, lesson learned. What am I going to do? It is what it is. It sucks. But this is a part of raising animals. You're going to accidentally kill your animals, and you need to understand that before you get into raising them. And you need to be okay with that, and you need to just realize that that's part of life and part of living. If you're a human being, you need to admit that millions, billions, trillions of organisms die for you to live, and that's a gift from God. So don't take that for granted. Don't just respect life. We should care for life and the environment. But um, if you can't admit that death is a part of life, then like you don't understand what being human is about, or I guess what we're dealing with on this earth. So um, yeah, that's my story. So yeah, be careful with your livestock guardian dogs. And yeah, but it was a boy. So that's the little bit of silver lining is that it was a boy. Boys are not as valuable to me. I don't want more rams. That ram can't mate with my sheep. They're related. What I want is girls, so I can create more babies. So I ended up with three babies, three girls and two boys. Um, Not bad for my first lambing. So I was very, very happy with that. Um, what else can we talk about down here? Let's go check this out. Let's go look at lambs more. It's too cool. But yeah, guys, like I'm pretty numb to animals dying now. I don't even or killing animals now. It doesn't feel good, but it's just a part of life. It's just the thing that you have to do to eat, right? And now that I kill my own animals, I'm responsible for like very few animals dying now because I'm doing it myself and I raise them and I know them. And the beef that I eat, I know who raised that beef. It's pretty cool. It was cool when I raised all my own vegetables and was able to like pull that off. Most of them, right? You can't do everything, but raising my own meat has been the ultimate mindset game changer ever for me, and just helping me to understand things on a deeper level, a more zoomed out perspective, all of that stuff. So they yeah, these sheep, all of my animals have the best life imaginable. They are living the most close to nature life that they could live. But this is farming. We're not in nature. This is a human-made mimicking of nature, and that's what we're doing with rotational grazing. And that's what's so amazing about rotational grazing is we're actually healing the land, healing the soil, putting way more nutrients into our animals. It's an incredible thing that not enough people are doing with their farms, and honestly, probably won't end up doing it with their farms. That's not the future. The future of farming is honestly going to be like 50,000 acre farms and super conglomerate, super centralized, like really bad stuff. So that's why I've gone so hardcore with animal farming and wanting to really learn that, be able to show that to you guys, try to inspire you guys to do this too, to show you guys that like somebody who started with no knowledge in all these different aspects of farming, you can teach it to yourself, you can experience it yourself, you can learn from others, you can watch YouTube videos and then do this yourself. You don't have to rely on others. You don't have to believe the authority telling you what is healthy and what is not. You need to do all your own research because everything that's in mainstream culture, on the television, mainstream internet sources, it's all lying to you. It's all trying to control you. It's all trying to make you sick, unhealthy, to hate yourself. basically anything that goes against God's design. That's what they want you to believe in. They want you to believe or promote like a culture of death rather than a culture of life. And that's what you're seeing in our society today. Farming, regenerative farming, is direct rebellion against that, in my opinion. That's why I do YouTube. That's why I started a YouTube channel. That's why I take my time to, I'm taking my time right now to do this video with you guys, because there is no political solution to what the world's going through. There's none. The only solution is changing things on a small scale within yourself, within your family, within your community around you. Those are the only things we can control, and not even control, honestly. You can barely control those things. But um, that's why I see farming as the solution to our health problems, to government problems, to, if you can raise your own food, you can't be controlled. And that's what we're going to start seeing more and more and more as we head on into the future here. If anybody out there who's paying attention to world events and current events and the last 3 years of tyranny and scams and unbelievable evil, um, that the writing's on the wall for America. If you think that America's going to get out of this and that we're not going to go through extreme turmoil and all sorts of things, like, you need to prepare yourself for what's coming. That's why I've dedicated the last 2 years to animals, because guess what they want to stop? They want us to stop eating animals. They're going to blame it on fake climate stuff, which is an absolute lie, you guys. I've studied and been 24/7 with nature for over 10 years and studied nature. I've studied the claims of the carbon scientists and all this stuff. It's an absolute lie. It's an absolute joke. It's unbelievable foolishness to believe um, that we are changing the climate only because of this one variable called carbon, which is a barely even it's not even a percentage point of the entire atmosphere. Um, and it's just so disgusting. I'm so upset that so many regenerative farmers don't talk about this. They all talk about the climate and this and that, and it's like, dude, look at go back and watch Al Gore's movie, the what is it, Inconvenient Truth. New York's supposed to be underwater. Then go back in history. How long have they been saying? It's like it's always that 12 years. Like 12 years, the Earth's gonna end. They've been saying that for literally decades. Go talk to an older person um, and ask them, have you ever heard this stuff that they keep repeating over and over again? Yeah, they've been saying it forever. First they say it's global warming, then it's global cooling. Now it's just climate change. Now it's just like with COVID, guys. They just change the narrative over and over and over, and they gaslight you, calling you crazy, until now the government's come out and said the injections are dangerous. Florida Surgeon General just said no 18 to 40-year-old males shouldn't take it. Blah blah blah. All these things that we told you guys: don't take the poison, don't obey Fauci, don't wear the mask, don't do any of this stuff. We were telling you guys for 3 years, and no one freaking listened, dude. It was so frustrating, and now it's all coming out, and well, nobody apologizes. Nobody comes out and say, "Oh my gosh, I was wrong. I'm so upset that I injected myself and my family." Oh well. But I hope people will listen to us in the future. I hope you're listening to what I'm saying right now. I hope that you take my warning seriously, that you need to prepare for what's coming to this country and the world. Things are being reset in the image of a global government, global currency, digital control systems through digital ID. All of this stuff is coming down the line. You guys need to resist it. You cannot go along with it. If they ever bring back lockdowns of any sort of lockdown, it appears that the next scam is going to be surrounding climate. Um, uh, it's either, to me, it's between climate and pushing us towards digital currency, digital ID. All three of those things will be used um, to usher in this new system that you can read about, that's talked about publicly. It's all over the place. Just look up the World Economic Forum is the famous thing, but the Council on Foreign Relations, the UN. You can read and listen to into the international bankers and all these powerful people that have massive influence on every government in the world. You can read their books, their papers, their public documents about what their plan is for the world and what they see as the future of the world, which is no sovereignty of nations, an elimination of that, global taxation, individual tax, a global corporate tax. These are all things that are being discussed publicly. So it's why it's so important to not be scared about these things that are coming, but to understand that what's going on, that that most people, unfortunately, are sheep. I had to really admit that to myself, that most people aren't that smart, not to be sound arrogant or something, but they just can't, they don't have the critical thinking. They were brainwashed in school. All these different things are like preventing them from seeing the truth, and they're not going to be able to see it. I don't think they were ever able to see it in at any point in history. Like, that's why the Jews got on the trains. That's why like all these evil things happened in history, because people just trust authority. Don't trust human authority. Trust Jesus. Trust God. Trust the Bible. These are authoritative. These are the only and authoritative sources that we have. Um, you may not believe in the same things I do, but that's what I believe is the truth. Um, so, guys, it's this is the world that we live in, and we just got to do the best that we can. And I'm trying to not think. I try not to think about all that bad stuff so much, but it's inevitable. And guess what? Our generation, my generation, I'm 35, a millennial. Like the baby boomers, destroyed our nation. Everything's in debt. Everything's destroyed, and whatever. This is like fourth or fifth generation. Like this cycle happens every time. So it's not like I blame them. This is just like a cycle that happens in humanity. It's because of human sin and people greedy and evil and all this stuff that goes on. So it's just a part of life. Hopefully our generation will help to, like, we're going to be the generation that rebuilds from the ashes, basically. I don't see what else is going to be possible. But that's, one of the reasons I moved to Tennessee was to be in an area where people are willing to defend freedom, to fight, to die for what they believe in, more so than California. That place is donezo, in my opinion. Um, I wish all my friends and family the best who are still there, but I don't think that it's a wise, not smart, but wise to stay there long term. If you're my age, I don't think it's wise to build wealth in California or any of these Marxist out of control states in America. It doesn't make any sense. So it's just, it's a sad thing to see. California is an amazing piece of land, but it's done. There's no way out of it. It's, I don't even want to think about what's going to happen there someday, but it is what it is, guys. So, anyways, I love ranting a little bit. So let's go. Let me show you guys my 2-line setup here, and then we'll go back up top. I'll show you the meat. I'll show you my mushroom setup, and maybe we can talk some more gravy stuff. I don't know if you guys like when some people are like, don't talk politics. Some people are like, please keep talking about it. So, alrighty. So let me turn the camera around. So what I've done in here is I've separated all these paddocks out for them into 3 different paddocks. So that's where you can see the 2-line for one. So on the back side here, there's a 2-line. You might be able to see the reel on that back side there. So that goes all along the back. Here comes Coey. And then you can just break them up with that 2-line. So how easy is that? That takes me literally a minute to run that thing out and set it up. Incredibly easy to get hot because my entire perimeter is hot. So yeah, it's a really, really great system. That if anybody's thinking about raising sheep sheep, that won't hold in goats, but it'll hold in sheep. So this is Coey's dog feeder. This is to prevent sheep from getting into his food. But he can get under because he can crawl under or he can jump through. But he's doing really good. Other than accidentally killing that lamb, he's doing great. But that's my fault ultimately. I have to take the blame for that one. All right, let me show you guys my shade structure and hay, and then we'll go back up top. So this is just a little shade structure that I built this year that, it wasn't the best. But it did work, but it's not amazing. And the reason is that I had a bunch more plastic on this, but the sheep, if you raise sheep, you know they love rubbing on things, and they just ripped it apart. But this was what was left, and they still get some shade from it. But next year I gotta build something way bigger for these guys. And I built this using something called Maker Pipe. It's you can basically clamp down EMT and create anything out of EMT. So it's galvanized, so it will never rust. This is the barn this is where the sheep are sleeping at night. So every day I bring out more hay so they can sleep on that and not sleep on their poop. Um, so all this hay that you're seeing here, this is from my land. And I met a guy. His name is JR. He's basically a neighbor. And he drove by one day and saw me working outside and said, "Hey, like, do you need your field hayed?" And I was like, I never even considered it because I don't have I don't know anybody or have a tractor. I have nothing. So, anyways, he ended up really hooking me up, giving me really an amazing price, like $3 a square bale plus gas. I mean, I gave him some extra money, a little bit of extra money on top too. But um, he yeah, I ended up getting, I probably have 180 bales in here from my own land, which is so cool. So cool. It's been amazing getting to raise my own grass, basically. Like, I'm a grass farmer now, like Joel Salatin always talks about. And I actually understand that now. When I first moved here, people told me, like, Steven, like, we're in a drought. It hasn't rained in 4 weeks. I was like, you got to be kidding me. 4 weeks is a drought? In San Diego, the drought's like 8 months every single year. What are you guys talking about? But now that I'm raising animals that live on grass, um, I am now, my zoomed out perspective happened again, and now I really get that. Like, because you don't like, grass will grow, but without the rain, like when it rains, it really grows. It really comes up. A scythe definitely could work great out there. What's his name? Oh, I'm blanking on his name. The farmer in Florida. He travels between Maine and Florida. Oh gosh, Pete Canaris always does videos with him. His name's Jim, I think. Kava something. Sorry, man. But he hand scythes 4 acres of grass a year, and then he uses that grass to mulch all of his market gardens, and that's how he gets most of his fertility in his garden. That guy is really cool, really inspiring farmer. So I should get a scythe. I should get one, right? That would be a really good tool to have. So yeah, guys, like now I'm just feeding them. So now it's like I gotta wait for this field to get better before I put them back out there so that they don't, jack up my field. So I'm gonna keep them out on this other grass as long as I stinking can. We may get rain next Thursday, which would be awesome, and then we'll get more growth, and I can throw them back out there. So, all right, let's see here. Here's Cody. He's such a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah, he really bonded with me early, so he loves to see me and hang out. He's been good. And then, oh, one thing I have been doing to with training him is that I got a shock collar for him, so I'm using that to help train him with. Thank you, Jim Kovaleski. Exactly. Thanks, Jeremy. Um, when he gets close to the sheep and starts trying to like put his paw on the lambs, things like that, I shock him because I'm trying to. I don't know. Maybe that's not the best way, but I've tried yelling. I've tried throwing him on the ground, doing that sort of stuff to get him to understand. No, that's not allowed. Um, Now I'm kind of thinking maybe if I shock him, he'll be a little bit scared of the lambs versus wanting to play with them. I don't know. I got to figure something out. Uh, if I leave for a few days, I can't. I need to have him with the sheep, so I got to get this figured out. But here we go. We got one, Kathy, or do you mean Karen? I think you mean Karen. Your name's actually Karen, right? These people are so funny, man. These people are gonna be screwed. It's gonna be sad. They're gonna be like, "Dang, Steven was right. I can't. Now I'm just a slave being fed bugs in a pod." Oh man, you should listen to me. But I've been telling few people for 15 years about the New World Order and what this is and this whole agenda that's being rolled out before our eyes, and people still still won't believe it. But it's all good. I've made peace with that fact that 90 5% of people are total brainwashed sheep, unfortunately. That's why it's difficult to find friends. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching can relate to me in the fact that it's very difficult to find people that we relate to, that understand how the world really works, that know anything about growing food. That's just difficult enough, let alone knowing other things. So, but it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Cool. So let's go back up. I'm going to show you guys my mushrooms. Let's go over there. Let me make sure I didn't screw anything up. Oh, let's go this way. I'll show you guys my IMO 3 that I made. That's kind of cool. I'll talk to you guys about that. Some of you may not know about that. But I know you might not want to listen to me because I'm a fear mongerer. Oh my gosh. It's so funny, man. These people are such slaves. It's wild, dude. They'll never wake up. That lady Kathy, she'll never wake up. But yeah, I just feel bad for them. Okay. This is my IMO 3 pile that I never put away, but that's okay. What is IMO 3? So this is Korean natural farming technique here. So Korean natural farming was it's a system created by Master Han Kyu Cho in Korea. And I have a couple of videos with his son over in Korea if you guys would like to see Jadam and his system. But this is IMO, indigenous microorganisms. So these are microbes that I collected on rice from my woods. Unfortunately, the quality of the video isn't good enough to really see, but there's a lot of fungal strands and spores and all sorts of crazy stuff that's inside of that highly fungal dominated compost, essentially. So what I do with this is I can feed it to my animals that will actually poop that biology back out onto my fields and soil, into my compost, making liquid IMO that I can put out on my field to increase the biological activity out there. There's just so many cool things you can do. It helps eliminate odors. I'm adding it to my animal bedding. Yeah, it's awesome stuff. I have not made any videos about how to do any of the KNF, even though I've been doing it for like 4 years now, because I've been trying to get extremely good at it, because I don't want to misrepresent KNF at all or things like that. So it's time. Like I'm ready to go. I can make all the content about this now. But follow Chris Trump on YouTube if you really want to learn KNF stuff. There's a lot of great teachers, but he's kind of my favorite, I'd say, out of all of them. Chris and Eric Weiner are my favorite American English-speaking teachers. Yeah, make IMO. Check it out. Someday I'll make some videos about all that stuff. But there's great videos by Chris online. You don't need me to do it for you. So that's definitely something I'll be featuring a lot more on my channel over the next couple of years, is all this biological farming stuff. Oh, and by the way, check out the list in my description. It says follow me here. Those are just other video platforms that I'm on. So like Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, Brighteon. My videos auto upload to Rumble, to BitChute, to those other places, because the things that I just spoke to you guys about, I don't talk about that stuff that much on my channel. Occasionally, usually it's in a live stream. But if I ever got banned off the internet, mainstream platforms, I'm on every single platform, so you guys could always find me. Sign up for my email list. I put out really good info. I just custom make articles basically for you guys in that email about different topics and trying to encourage you about growing your own food and stuff. So sign up for my email too, so you never lose contact with me. People are getting banned left and right off of the mainstream platforms. I didn't say anything. I'm very careful about the language that I use to not trigger the algorithms, but these psycho Marxists are trying to control everything. So what are you gonna do? So yeah, like if I say something later on the live stream that I feel like could get me a strike or banned, I'll just delete it out of YouTube. But the whole stream will be up on Rumble and BitChute automatically. So we're gonna take a walk through the woods and go up to my mushroom area. So the area that I'm walking through now, this is part of our wooded acres. This is unfenced. This is the future. I mean, I'd love to do silvopasture in here someday, and fence my whole property someday. But man, it took me 6 months just to build my 7-acre fence. But I was also learning how to do fencing, so you know, there's a huge learning curve there, that's for sure. But now I know how to do high tensile really well, so I can build high tensile anywhere. So we'll see what I end up doing, but I really like raising the sheep, so I'd like more places to graze them. So we'll see, but I'm thinking long term I'm gonna silvopasture in this too. Live in a town that make over 200 pounds of compost. 200 pounds of compost, that's awesome, nice job. And that person lives in town, they said, so it just goes to show you, where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, if you guys have seen my old videos from San Diego, you know what I did in like a tiny backyard, or a couple tiny backyards. You can grow an insane amount of food in a very small place. Most of the gardening books are wrong. You can space things way closer than they tell you. So here's my mushroom logs. I'll talk about this. Let's see. I don't see any mushrooms right now. I've got some tips for mushrooms for you guys. Okay. Nice. Suzanne's making FBJ comfrey. That's an awesome input. Comfrey's a great plant. Okay, so the mushroom logs. I am a huge fan of mushrooms. That's another, as I've gone through this process of learning all these agricultural things, for me, the best entry points into agriculture as a young person or whatever age you are, with like, you don't have a lot of experience, but you want to get into some sort of farming, things to get your feet wet, in my opinion, would be market gardening, microgreens, and mushrooms. These are the three things that, oh, nice, Rick. Yeah, they're doing decently. I'll explain what happened this year with them. But yeah, like those three, I feel like they're such a good entry point because really low barrier to entry in terms of cost of startup, high profit margin products, products that pump out pretty quickly, that you don't have to wait a long time for. Like my sheep, it's going to be years before I can get back my investment into my sheep. Animals are obviously more risky, in my opinion. They're more there's just a lot more regulation. There's more all this other stuff that goes along with meat. So that's why those three that I told you I think are the best. So my mushrooms this year did not do as good as last year because we did not have as wet of a year. And because I'm in Tennessee and we get over 50 inches of rain a year, I wanted to see what happens if I just never soak these logs. Because typically in a commercial setup, you're soaking the logs because that's when you soak the logs for 24 hours, it force fruits the logs, forcing them to pump out the mushrooms that we eat. That's what's done in a commercial log setup like this. That way they can have consistent production and kind of guarantee more when the harvests are coming. I mean, they have to time it with the seasons too, but it's a way, like if you're doing mushrooms indoors, it's a synthetic environment that you're creating, so it's all being controlled. Where this is, we're playing with nature more. Now I did soak my logs once this year, and when I did that, boom, they flourished and blew up. These I haven't soaked. We didn't get that much mushrooms this year, so Suzanne, so yeah, it it is necessary to soak your logs, even in a very wet environment like Tennessee or the South. If you have a dry period for a couple months, or 4 to 8 weeks, it's going to be difficult for them to produce. So keep that in mind if you're interested in doing logs. That is going to be a part of your process. This soaking log thing is a part. Like you can't avoid it. I thought that I could maybe avoid it but I can't. So that's a great tip for you guys, I think, for these logs. But I'd highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's just another great food source, um, and a great potential product to sell. And oh, dang it, man, I need to get these up. So these are all the logs that I did this year. Dang it, man, I need to get these up ASAP, dude. And you guys can see my mushrooms here. Hold on. So these, so here's one benefit of Tennessee compared to other places for mushrooms, is that I inoculated these this winter, and they're already fruiting by fall the same year. And that in many environments, that's not possible. So I need to come and harvest all these shiitakes, and I need to stack these up. I need to line them up so I can start harvesting them. So cool, yay, got more mushrooms. So mushrooms are also, I'm trying to focus on things with my new farm that it's more storable and will last a long time. And that's another reason why I like the mushrooms, because if you have an overabundance of harvest, you could always dry them. You can make mushroom jerky, which I tried for the first time. My buddy Andrew makes it like a couple years ago. I tried it for the first time, really good. I mean, that's a very high value product right there if you create mushroom jerky. So anyways, I can't say enough good things about mushrooms. I have been very happy with that, um, and that's why, this is why I'm trying all these different. Obviously, I do this because it's, I love it and it's my passion, and I enjoy doing all these new agriculture things. But I'm also doing it for you guys, to expose you guys to it and have you experience it through my experience, or however you say that. Um, and hopefully get more of you guys to do this. My whole thing of YouTube and beyond, I want, of course, I was always hoping my YouTube could make money, and I could become a YouTuber or whatever. But my biggest goal is just to get you guys to grow your own food. That is my ultimate reason for taking the time, an hour and 15 minutes unpaid with you guys, to encourage you guys to do this stuff, because I think it's going to be so valuable for your family's health, possibly for your income. Just that alone is the reason enough to do it, if not to prepare for whatever future is in front of us. So that is, those are awesome reasons to get into growing your own food. It'll change your life, I'm telling you. It'll change everything when you start growing your own food and getting those health benefits, those mental health benefits. It, I could never ever go back to my previous life. Okay, what are we doing now? I guess that's it, guys. I guess that's the whole homestead, pretty much. So let's go right here. And then if I don't know, if you guys have questions, can I help you? Can I give you some more value? Can I give you something that, anyways, ask me questions. I'm gonna actually look at the chat now. And hit that like button, guys. I really appreciate you guys doing that for me. Mitchell, am I feeding IMO3 to my animals? Yes. So what I do with my pig feed, my chicken feed, any grain-fed animal, I'm almost always fermenting that, which means I'm just adding water to the grain and letting it sit for 24 to 72 hours. That's just that's being inoculated with the lactobacillus and yeasts and whatever's floating around in the air. That's going to colonize. It's mostly lacto, right? That's going to colonize that, and then that's what's fermenting it, and you're feeding it to the pigs. I'm taking it a step further by adding either bokashi that you can get on my website, naturesalwaysright.com, which is a way to anaerobically ferment things. It has a lot of lacto and other microbes. Um, or I put IMO3 in there, and that is a way to um, Drake, Eric Weiner, who's an amazing Hawaiian Korean natural farming teacher. He he taught me that you can feed the IMO to the pigs, and then some of that some of that biology will survive their gut and be pooped out onto the ground. So that's an amazing thing about animals, is that not only can they remineralize soil by feeding them the minerals that they're missing in their diet, you can also help use them to inoculate large amounts of ground out their back end. And these are what I just told you. These are things that aren't being talked about or practiced. I don't even see Joel Salatin Richard Perkins, any of these big people, no one's talking about using animals to distribute biology. When at scale, that's the best way you could distribute biology, honestly, other than a liquefied uh, version where you're spraying that out with a tractor or something. Um, maybe it's even possible to do, instead of spraying pesticides from a plane, maybe you spray liquid IMO from a plane at really large scale. And this is like that's where I hope to go in the future with stuff, is to do things on a larger scale with all this natural farming stuff and showing that. So I did soil tests this year in my field. I've got a great video with Earth Grower, you might know, that we went over my soil test together. It'll be really educational. Do you have to be vetted before they allow California to Tennessee? I hope so, man. We should have a vetting process. Like, you shouldn't, like, I hate seeing California plates here. I realize I'm from California, but like, I'm not, there's not, like, saying I'm from California tells you nothing about me or what I believe or anything. I would just, whenever I start a conversation and somebody asks me where I'm from or something, I just usually say, you know, what do I usually say? I'm the most pro-gun, anti-government, like pro-freedom person you're gonna meet. Like, I'm more conservative than 99% of the people in Tennessee probably. So I just use a line like that, or I just say something like that, and then people are like, oh, okay, this guy gets it. So, but that's the thing. It's like it's tricky because it's like you, especially if you're from an area, you don't want a lot of people coming to your area. But at the same time, if it's people like me or you who want to do homesteading and they believe in freedom and they don't want to, they don't believe in all this perverse culture stuff going on in America, you kind of want them in your area, because we can strengthen ourselves through people, because people are an asset at the end of the day. So, like, those people I want to come. I hate it when I see people move here that just move to the city and live a city life that just consumption. We need more producers, people that produce. Like, I came here with my own business. I didn't, I'm not taking a job away from another Tennessean. I'm actually going to be hiring Tennesseans eventually. So, I'm bringing value to this place that I'm coming. I'm not coming to change the culture. I'm trying to say y'all, even though I feel like a poser. And I don't want to change the Tennessee culture. I came here to be a part of Southern culture because I love Southern culture and what it stands for. And it, to me, it feels like America used to be 20 or 30. Well, I wouldn't go back that 20 years ago, maybe. That's what it feels like here in the South. Like, I went back in time in America a bit, back to when I was a kid. When I was, luckily enough, I'm 35, and I was raised before the world went insane. Basically, after 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven was a part-time job. You guys know about that? After that event happened, the Patriot Act and all that stuff, that's when America just went off the freaking rails. Um, and yeah, forgot where I was going with that, but let's see what you guys have to say. Um, stupid chat thing. Drake. Oh, so guys, search for Eric Weiner, the KNF teacher. Search, what is it? Pure KNF. I think it's called Pure KNF. That's his YouTube. On 9/11, I was a freshman in high school. I was 14 years old, and my grandfather was in the Trade Center when whatever happened in those buildings happened. And he luckily escaped. He lived. He got out of the building. Yeah, I've got some opinions on that event, but obviously, planes did not bring those buildings down. But you know, yeah, Pure KNF, Dr. Drake, exactly. I don't know why he's calling himself Dr. Drake. It's kind of weird, but yes, that is his channel. He's a good guy. I've met him in person. I've taken a 2 or 3 day class from him when he came to LA, and he's a great guy, great teacher. He has a very different teaching style than Chris. Um, More philosophical, more that side of things, which is really great to know. Um, for KNF, because the philosophy of KNF is quite different than Western reductionist thinking of agriculture, and very important to understand those concepts to implement KNF well, like Dr. Dre. Yeah, basically. Oh, here you go. Suzanne's asking, do you use animal bones to make bone meal? I don't, but what I do is a Korean natural farming technique. So what you do is you just charcoal the bones, turn them to char, and then add vinegar, and then that extracts the calcium phosphate out of it. So you can get some phosphorus out of that. You can also make phosphorus from other plants, um, and different. There's different Korean natural farming or Jadam methods. Like I can pull out phosphorus from different things if I want. Um, but yeah, I could also make a bone meal. It's just too much work, and I don't have like something that could grind up the bones efficiently. So I save all my bones, and then I just do the KNF version of that, and that's kind of what I do. Um, where did you get your inoculates? Well, if you're talking about Korean natural farming or Jadam, you make the inoculant. The inoculant's from nature. If you're talking about bokashi, you can make that yourself too, but you have to buy the inoculant from like a lab. How did you awaken to your stance that this is a better or good way to live? I like what you bring to these vids. Well, I guess it just goes back to, well, it goes back to realizing that everything that was told to me when growing up was almost everything was a lie, right? Evolution's a lie. The Big Bang is a lie. The idea that there's no God, no creator, that's a lie. Uh, all of modern history that we've been told is a perversion of the truth, like why we get into wars, the monetary system, the pharmaceutical industry, the agricultural industry. I just started like once 9/11 really is what woke me up. I think my friend, I was probably 19 maybe ish, something around 19 years old, and my friend showed me the Alex Jones documentary, uh, which I can't remember the name of, but um, anyways, then you do your own research into it. It's like, oh my gosh, like they found the dude's passport, the Saudi Arabian guy's passport on the ground at ground zero. Hmm? I thought jet fuel melts steel beams, but apparently the the passport's still there. I mean, just looking into it, it's just unbelievably stupid. It's an obvious false flag attack, essentially. So that's what my all of those little things initially woke me up, and then really just like delving into nutrition and health, having some different personal health problems, family health problems, friends having health problems, and then having us heal those through diet. That was a huge thing that woke me up. Anyways, you just keep looking down all these rabbit holes, and like I said, everything's a lie. They're all liars. They're trying to manipulate you for money or for power, and that's what goes on. So that is what woke me up. And once you start down this journey of realizing the truth, being red pilled, whatever you want to call it, there's no turning back unless you want to bury your head in the sand and not believe it, which ignorance is bliss. But would I be where I am today without pursuing the truth and pursuing true health and trying and rejecting all the authoritative sources and saying, no, 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 I'm my own doctor. I'm my own farmer. I'm my own mechanic. I do these things myself, and other people don't do it for me. Sort of mentality is the mentality that I've adopted because nobody can do anything as good as we can. Like it's like if someone's gonna paint your house as good as you can, like you're gonna take more effort to do it. Who's gonna run your better business better than you? Like if you rent your car to somebody, are they gonna take better care of the car than you are who owns it? No. So yeah. What's a cheap way to char stuff? Make your own charcoal. I have a few videos about charcoal and how to make it very like primitively, like burning brush or wood, but you can make it more efficiently if you just YouTube search how to make biochar or use a T-LUD system, TLUD. That's a very inexpensive way to make an efficient biochar reactor. I still need to make one of those. I'm just doing it the ghetto way with just burning a bunch of wood and then dousing it. But you guys can see that in my videos. But you can make it for free. I plan on having workshops. Yes, I did a pig slaughter workshop last year. It's just a lot of effort to do workshops in person, and honestly, what I'm going to be working on this winter is more like digital education, more highly advanced or detailed things. Like I like my chicken coop plans I never made, and I'd like to make a little like a simple ebook on gardening of like my best techniques that I recommend, whatever different like a gardening course, a course on doing different things. So that's what I'm trying to work on for my some of my content in addition to all the YouTube stuff I do. So like maybe I would have I've been thinking about having like an online sort of workshop or class that people can be a part of for next season, gardening season. So I'm playing with a lot of these ideas, what can bring um, you guys the most value in terms of learning, or what could take more pressure off of you. Because like just a course that you're taking by yourself with no like outside help might be intimidating, like when you're getting into gardening or raising pigs or whatever it may be. So something that I can do where there's a support system, or where I can answer questions for you guys, or I do like one live call a week with you to help you guys and answer questions, something like that. I don't know. That's what I'd like to do. I want to take my content more protected, more private, so that I own it, so that I have ways to make income, even if I get kicked off of all the platforms, or I get kicked off the internet. All right. So I think about those things, not because I'm scared or because of, it's just, this is the world we live in. And like, you need to be prepared. Like, why would you not prepare for things that look like they're coming in the future? This may sound paranoid, but take it for what it's worth. I called out the scamdemic 3 years. I was in Korea actually when all of it started, and they started showing those videos of the Chinese people falling over dead. I immediately knew it was fake and the whole thing was a scam, and they were going to use this to try to do something on a global scale. Why? Because I've seen this pattern over and over and over again. And so I was in Korea before it even arrived to America, calling it a scam. And people called me crazy. And I told people they're going to probably create some sort of injection and they're going to try to force people to take it. And guess what? That's what they did. So because it's been like 15 or so years of knowing about the truth as much as we can know about how things really work in this world and who actually has the power. It's not governments that have power. How what governments actually are. They're not created for and by the people, unfortunately. So I forgot what the original question is. I just started rambling on you guys. Well, yeah, I guess that's how I woke up. And workshops, like, so yeah, that's what I plan on doing. I would like to do more in-person stuff though, for sure. I really like doing the in-person stuff. It's just an incredible amount of effort and time to do it, and then there's not the compensation for it. Isn't is okay for the but for the amount of time and stuff I put in. Anyways, I have to figure all that stuff out. This is like the business side of content creation stuff that you have to figure out, and um, but yeah, I only have so much time in the day that I can create things. The best seed company, and you're starting a garden. Um, I recommend, so if you're starting a garden, especially if it's a small garden, you don't need to overbuy seeds. Like you don't need 1,000 kale seeds or something like that. Just get a packet and that'll do great. Like, okay, so I'd say Me Gardener. I really like Me Gardener. He's a really good content creator and a great person, I think, too, just from observing him over the years. And he's done a great job of helping to support smaller seed growers in America and not buying from China and all these places where a lot of seed companies do buy their seed from and sell it. So if not Me Gardener, he only does small packages of seeds, I believe, but True Leaf Market, which I have a link for down in the description, that I get a small kickback if you guys do buy from it. That that's my favorite seed company that I've found over the years. I switched over to them doing with all my market gardening stuff, and I've continued to buy from them because the quality is good, the price is good, their website's easy to use. They give you cash back on your purchases. Anyways, True Leaf is my go-to. Grow Organic. I used to love groworganic.com. They're a California company, but they went woke. So I do not buy anything from them anymore, unfortunately. But they do have good quality stuff. But I do not buy or promote any companies anymore that promote the Marxist, leftist, psychotic agenda. And just so you guys know, like that's what I do. And like the companies you see me promoting, like um, like Field and Forest, who does mushrooms. They're an amazing company. I love their company. And they're just the highest quality. That's one of the reasons that I'm promoting them. The other reason is that these other mushroom companies, they would give me a percentage kickback if you guys buy through the link. But guess what? I go on their Instagram and I scroll through their posts and I see, oh, they're a woke idiot. Nope, I'm not gonna send my audience to them. Heck no. Paul Stamets, I don't like that guy that much anymore. I think he's kind of a scammer. I heard that he a lot of the pills that he sells, it's not from fruiting bodies, it's like grain spawn. Now don't quote me on that. That's I don't know if that's true. That's what I've heard. You want to any sort of mushroom supplement you take, you want to make sure it's from the true fruiting bodies, not from the initial like mycelium growth. So, anyways, guys, I only promote companies that don't promote the woke BS. And I've even scared off companies because I said, "Hey, are you forcing your employees to take the you know what?" And if they don't give me the answer I want, I don't promote them or talk about them ever again. So, anyways, that's my I do these lives too. I'm trying to show you guys more of who I am. You guys don't get to really know who I am through my videos. Absolutely, Paul Stamets is a great guy. Like he's a great educator and promoter and scientist. Um, sorry, I just recently learned about that he kind of wasn't doing the best things for his products, and that bothered me. But no, I liked Paul Stamets. He's an interesting guy. Um, yeah, but David, you can go back and look at the whole tour. This will stay up on YouTube. I didn't say anything too controversial that'll get me banned or strike or whatever. So, yeah, fieldforest.net. Yep, that is the place to get any mushroom stuff. They have great educational resources on there. I've talked to the owners of the company. They're fantastic. They're just a small company, family, whatever, run company, small business. I'm also trying to support small business, American made. If it's possible, only American made people is who I try to promote, or American seeds. Um, I don't know. Those are really the only weapons that are not weapons. Those are only kind of things we have to kind of push back against the culture. It is great. We're seeing a lot more companies being created now that are anti woke and anti all this evil stuff. Public Square is an app I learned about recently. That it's they have like a what do you call it, a manifesto that's like, you know, it's not left or right. It's do you believe in freedom and liberty and freedom of speech and like the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And that's the thing that's so frustrating. It's like, dude, the left and the right in America, I'm old enough to remember, like we were all friends. We all ate dinner together. We all talked. We all hung out. Like the people on the left, the Democrats, used to be normal people, and at some point they just went to for the virtue signal, right? Like if I say this, I'm the good guy now. Well, here's one of the barn cats. So yeah, it is what it is. But it's great to see a lot of companies now like saying, hey, like we stand against this crap. Give us your money, and that's what we got to do. Is not give money to the people that hate us. Um, yeah, North Spores, they're woke, dude. North Spore, they put the black square. If you put the black square, dude, you're a brainwashed slave, or you'll bow to anything. You'll bow to societal pressure. I don't bow to any man or any pressure. I will never cuck. I can promise you guys that. But yeah, North Spore is cool. They have a good YouTube channel, but dude, if they're leftists, they're a bunch of commies, and screw them. Yep, watch out for that fluoride, guys. Some bad stuff in your water. Um, Anything else you guys want to talk about? What else can we talk about? What time is it here? Almost 4 o'clock. What's my next big thing I'm doing? Um, well, yeah, my next big thing is working on educational stuff over winter and trying to put out. I have a lot of videos to edit, guys, that I filmed and haven't put out because it's just sitting in my hard drive. So I need to do that. What am I doing to prepare for winter? Well, let's see. We did a bunch more crops this year. I've been trying to get better at doing tubers and um, sorry, my brain is getting a little fried here. Oh gosh, I can't think of the name right now. Tuber. What's the other thing? Turmeric is a rhizome. Tubers and rhizomes because those are things that you can overwinter really easily in your house. So I've got a bunch. We've been eating our own potatoes for months now. I'm about to plant the garlic that I harvested this year back into the ground, which is so cool. I bought 4 pounds of garlic, which is really expensive. It was like $100 or something for organic, and I ended up harvesting like 25 pounds of garlic. So I 6x'd my crop. So now I'm gonna plant like at least 8 pounds of garlic, maybe 12 pounds, and triple so that I can expand the amount that I can grow. And I have my own garlic seed that I can go on forever. Potatoes, and my friend Daryl, who was in here earlier, who's been in Tennessee a long, long time. He knows that he told me that you cannot overwinter potatoes without a root cellar. You can't just keep them in your house; they won't make it. But he told me that sweet potatoes will make it, which is really cool. So a bunch of those sweet potato slips I'll save for the next year. So that's another crop that I'm working on getting like a total cycle of I can have all the seed and all the food that I need or all the sweet potatoes I need for the year. So I've been trying to practice those things because, right, like doing market gardening, I only grew like 15 different crops. In my personal garden, I've grown tons and tons of different things. But in market gardening, you can only grow a very select few things because you need the highest profit margin in order to do that, to do that business. So now I'm getting to play, and I've been really enjoying playing with food more from a homesteader or home gardener perspective, because I think for me that's the most valuable for everybody watching. Most of us aren't ever going to be market gardeners or be farmers. Most of us are going to just try to grow food at home, and that's why I've been focusing a lot on homesteading videos more so than gardening videos, because it's kind of, raising animals is interesting me a lot more than gardening, just because I've you know been gardening for so long that I've just mastered so many things in it that it's still enjoyable, but it's not exciting as it used to be for me. I still like it, but the animals are so new that that's where like my passions has shifted a little bit. So that's how I'm preparing for winter. We also learned how to do canning. We did a lot more pickling this year, lacto fermentation, just like your refrigerator pickles. Um, so like all of our like hot pepper, if all of our hot pepper stuff is like we grow it now, because it's either dried or we have like all the pickled jalapenos that we can eat for the whole year. Tomatoes is something that I did not put enough effort into this year. I would have liked to can a lot more tomato sauce. We didn't can any this year. Well, no, we did a few. Um, so yeah, I've been trying to get more into canning, and then working on those vegetables that you can grow out and then save over winter in your house. Um, Onions. So next year I had all my onions fail this year because I tried doing some intercropping with some vertical crops that didn't work out. So my bulb onions failed, but that'll be next year. Trying to get that process of like um, getting better at getting things to go through, lasting through the whole winter, and practicing that. So those are really good, I think, things to work on and practice. Yeah, solar cooker, solar oven. That's a great recommendation to have. I want to make like a solar dehydrator. I think that would be really neat. I got to experience a freeze dryer recently at Gooseberry Bridge Farm. It's a homestead that I did a video with that will come out at some point. And the freeze dryer is like, it's very, very expensive machines, but it's really cool, really, really useful, and preserves more nutrients. Catalytic, I'm not ignoring you, man. I just can't like speak and read this at the same time. I'm not that good at live streaming like some of these people, other people that do it. Citrus is not viable in Tennessee without a greenhouse, like a permanent greenhouse, maybe a little bit of heat through the winter, or maybe you have an underground greenhouse, or you're bringing your citrus inside in the winter. It's possible. I've seen people do it with greenhouse. But other than, you know, doing a lot of effort, you're not going to get it. What's up, Brian King? Good to see you, man. Um, nice, nice. It's really great to read your comments and see how many people are doing things for the first time, raising a LGD, and doing, sharing FAA. You guys are awesome. Have I thought of building a root cellar? Yeah, Brandon, absolutely. I really want to build one. I just haven't, found the time. And I need an excavator to do that. I need to excavate a hole in the ground. Pond, I really want to build a couple ponds on my front field. So maybe when I do that, I'll have an excavator here and I'll dig out my hole for the root cellar. That's definitely a future upgrade that I want. I'm petting this cat right here if you're wondering what I'm doing with my hands. This is Esky, our barn cat, had babies this year, and this is one of the babies that we kept. And he's a lap kitty. But yeah, I'm trying to experiment with what I can get away with here in terms of cold fruiting varieties. Like that's why I showed you guys the pomegranates earlier. We'll see if I can get some pomegranates to go. I have seen pomegranates grown outdoor in Middle Tennessee, by a really cool farmer. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but his was name guy Turtle. What do they call him? Mr. Turtle. I forgot. He's in Middle Tennessee. He's an amazing bamboo grower, amazing farmer that I met, 8 years ago probably. But anyways, forgot where I was going with that. He grows pomegranates, and the way he did the pomegranates, it's a south-facing retaining wall. So a bunch of bricks that absorb the heat through the day, and then overnight they're releasing that heat, and that's how he got his pomegranates to survive. That's just like that's a tip you can use for anything that you want to try to keep warmer. Yeah, I could let a beaver in there. That'd be awesome. I need to get a beaver, get a dam going, get my own pond going. Solar oven. A Fresnel lens. I don't know anything about solar ovens really, other than like the really inexpensive ones people build with just like a window. They put a window on top of wood, like a cold frame, essentially. Those type of setups. Um, there definitely are beavers out here, but I don't have a stream or anything like that on my property. Brian had frost. He's in Kentucky. Yeah, our first frost is coming. I think we have a 39-day approaching. We'll see. Could I ask where I live in Tennessee? I'm in East Tennessee. Um, I'm outside Chattanooga. I've said that publicly a bunch of times, so whatever. Don't show up to my house. That wouldn't be smart. Um, are there hummingbirds in Tennessee? Absolutely. There's every single there's so much life here. I see new bugs almost every day that I've never seen before. I mean, just unbelievable amount of bugs and birds. So many birds I've never heard, like all these different sounds I've never heard. I'm always seeing new things here in Tennessee. It's the combination of all the wet weather and the heat and the humidity. It's just an explosion for life. It's basically like living in a rainforest here in the summer. So it's pretty interesting. Um, yeah, so massive amount of pollinators here. I mean, it's unbelievable. All sorts of bees. Like in San Diego, like I never saw carpenter bees, but they're everywhere here. I mean, just so much more life here versus San Diego, and it's from that rain. It's the rain that's providing all that life. But there's a negative to that. It's all the bugs, and that's what I have to deal with my sheep. All the parasites, all those parasites and worms. It's because we don't get a super, like, the ground doesn't freeze in Tennessee. It gets down to 20 degrees, 10 degrees on like the coldest, but the ground doesn't freeze, so we don't get all, like, 100% kill off of all of the parasites living in the ground. So and then the ground is wet for a lot of the year, so that also influences the parasite load in the ground, which now you need really parasite resistant sheep. So that's why I went with St. Croix, and that's why I do the management style that I do. The weather compared to San Diego, I mean, it's not really comparable at all. San Diego gets like 10 to 12 inches of rain a year. It's very dry. The summers, so it's, I guess it's hotter. It's hotter in San Diego, especially for a longer period of time, but you won't sweat nearly as much as you sweat in the South or anywhere that's humid, or like Asia, where I used to live in Asia for a couple of years. You know, I would compare Tennessee. It's similar to Korea's weather, only it's not as cold as Korea. Korea's a little bit colder. And so if you've ever been in Asia in the summer, it's similar to that. But I would say Asia is hotter and even maybe more humid. Depends where you are and the time of year. But so yeah, you will be sweating a lot. You will be in more discomfort in the South. You will have bugs biting you. You will have ticks. You will have chiggers. You know, I have to go out into the field into tall grass all the time because I have to deal with my animals. I get chigger bites, guys. Like, you know, it sucks, but it's part of the deal farming out here. I get ticks. I got bit by I don't know, maybe twice, 2 or 3 times this year. I find ticks on me. Usually I find them before they bite me, but it's a part of life that you have to accept if you want to live out here and be outside. If you're in the air conditioning city, like, it's no different than any other place you're going to live. But thanks guys for watching. 110 of you guys in here, 114. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and Leon. Leon says, hit the like button, guys. Smash it. Smash it. Thanks you guys. So yeah, it's for me, I really like the weather here, but a lot of people would probably hate the weather here, and they would hate the bugs. You know, you're gonna get eaten up by all those bugs: mosquitoes, chiggers, ticks. Those 3 bugs suck, but you get used to it. Part of farming is learning to deal with discomfort. You are uncomfortable a lot of times because of the working conditions, right? You know, this winter I got to deal with frozen water. That's such a pain. You know, it doesn't matter what time of night or day, whether it's raining, it's a freezing rain. If I have to go deal with my animals, I have to go deal with my animals, and that's just is what it is. So, yeah. So I'd say obviously the weather in San Diego is amazing, right? It's some of the best weather in the United States, but there's a major, and one of the big things I learned after like leaving San Diego too is one of the cool things about San Diego, there's no bugs. We have those ants and that's about it. Like, I didn't understand being a native San Diegan, like, how many bugs actually exist. So that's a major shock, I think. That's a major shock. But don't come to Tennessee if you're a liberal, a leftist, if you want more government, if you think there's more than 2 sexes, stay the hell. I try not to curse because I want anybody to be able to watch my content, but stay the heck away from Tennessee or any of the freedom-loving states. We don't want you here unless you finally come to your senses and want to be a part of the living and not the dead. Trying to go back to your guys' comments here. There we go. We got I'm 66, originally from California, but moved to Northwest Arkansas 28 years ago. I recently retired, started gardening. That's awesome. Good for you. That's fantastic. I love seeing all these new people getting into gardening, growing your own food, choosing another way to live, no matter what age that you are. I think that's huge. It doesn't matter what age you are. You can always do something and learn something new. And you're not done. No one's done on this earth until they're dead. So don't ever stop learning and trying new things and one of the biggest things I've learned from talking to a lot of older people is that you should never stop working. The people that stop working or stop doing things in their life, you lose your reason to live or the reason to enjoy your life. So I think it's really important. Like the people that live the longest and enjoy their life the most have something to contribute, something to offer. So trying to find something of service or something that you enjoy doing is so important to find and to continue doing, and to not think like, oh, once I'm 70, well, I got to quit gardening. Well, I got to quit farming. No, you don't at all. My great, well, he was a god great grandfather. I had one of my good memories of food growing up was going to his place in, where was he? He was somewhere in El Cajon in San Diego, but he had huge orchards of avocado and citrus, and that guy was like 95 up on a ladder pruning his stuff, and he's like, if I fall, I fall, I die, whatever, like I'm not leaving my house. Like that's what I'm going to be like at that age. And I think about that going to the future, getting older, and why can't I keep doing this? Why not? And why can't I farm in a way that allows me to continue doing this for a long period of time? Because I don't want to stop. I'm not going to stop. So um, but I also, now that I'm 35, I do have some lower back pain and whatever, some of those things that happen as you get older. So now I'm much more wise about how I do work, better ergonomics, um, having a little bit less ego, like rather than, you know, picking up the heavy bucket and walking 100 feet, maybe I'll drive my truck and just, use my vehicle to do it. Whatever, just doing different things that can help to alleviate physical issues. Um, anyways, that was a little tangent there, but I just I love seeing everybody of all ages getting into this stuff. It's just this is one of the reasons we're alive. I think is to steward the earth. And if you believe if you're a Bible believer, that's one of the reasons God created us, is to be a steward of the earth and to be in relationship with Him and our fellow humans. So it's a pretty amazing thing to be able to live and work in nature, because it just takes us back to what we're supposed to be doing, I think. And it's okay. You don't have to do you don't have to be like me, a psycho, farmer trying to do everything. But it's just you need that little touch of nature. Something I learned from Morgan. Oh, I forget blanking on her last name. Creekside Flower Farm. She's another farmer here in Tennessee that I met probably 3 years ago, that I need to see again because she's awesome. And she taught me something that I never thought about in farming when I interviewed her. You guys can see, if you search Creekside Flower Farm on my YouTube channel, you can see that interview. But she told me, and being a guy, that's part of the reason I didn't ever think about this. She said that she's a flower farmer, right? She said beauty feeds the soul. And for me, it was always like, why would I grow flowers other than it's going to bring in beneficials? I want to grow food that I can eat. That's what matters. That's what's most important. That's what, I'm super logical, all that. So just what's the function? What's the function? That's all that matters, right? But that's not true. And she really woke me up to that. Like, oh yeah, like the having that the fresh bouquet of flowers on your dinner table, giving that to your wife or for a wedding or whatever, that like that feeling that it gives you of seeing beauty, and it does feed your soul. It is necessary. Like when you look at all these communist, like I've seen North Korea from the border, or you can see images of communist countries, or I mean honestly even in South Korea, a lot of the apartment buildings, like they're just so basic and boring and gray, brown, just blah. Or look at the USSR, like there's nothing creative, there's nothing interesting, it's just dead and blah. It's death. So beauty comes from God, our creator, and I think that's why we resonate with it. It's so good, and that's why it's important for it to be around us. And so, anyways, thanks to Morgan for teaching me that. And flower farming is amazing. That's another, actually that's another fourth entry point into agriculture. Flower farming is one of the highest profit margin farming enterprises. So it's very, 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 very different than vegetable farming, though. I would struggle at probably at being a flower farmer. I should have figured he was libertarian since he's friends with Curtis Stone. Yep, Curtis is the man. I hope you guys should be watching all of Curtis's streams on he does them on Fridays on YouTube. Some of the best streams on the internet right now. I love Curtis. He's one of the people that got me he's the person that taught me how to farm profitably. You know, my I got started in farming before Curtis made a YouTube channel, before there really was any YouTube farming. That wasn't you couldn't see anything. It was just books, right? There was J.M. Fortier's book on market gardening and Elliot Coleman's book, and that was pretty much it. But that's how I got started. And oh gosh, my brain. and I forgot where I was going with that. Oh man, I'm sorry, you guys. I need some water. Oh, Curtis. So he yeah, Curtis is just the real deal. I've known him for many years now. He came to my farm in San Diego. If you haven't seen that interview I did with him, it's called Farming for Liberty. It's a really good interview with Curtis, like a 45-minute interview, just about farming and freedom and all that sort of. Why are we farming? What's really the reason of doing all this? It's a really good interview. And yeah, Curtis is one of those people that has stood the test of time. He's never cucked. He's never bowed down to any of the stuff. He saw through it all the entire time, because when I met him for the first time, in like within 5 minutes, we're like, yeah, satanic pedophiles rule the world. Yeah, yep, okay, we get it. Yeah, we know we can be friends. And so yeah, and just we've done business together. I'm on from the field. Anyways, just all my experiences with him, he's the man. Like, I love Curtis, and you guys should be following him, learning from him, watch his YouTube channel. um, he's one of the best. Flowers make me so happy, and so many can be medicinal. Oh, great point, Brittany. That's a great point. I lived up to a teenager in communist Albania. Oof, gosh, that must have been brutal, man. Yeah, so you know what it's like. And yeah, well, we don't have to get into the wars going on, but every single war the United States has been involved in is an absolute joke, a fraud. It's all done for other purposes other than what our government tells us. The Iraq War is a great example that everybody understands and realizes. But every single war, it's all done that same way. Fake. Look up the Gulf of Tonkin. That's why we got into Vietnam. That was a fake media thing that was admitted by the U.S. government. Bible lover. I don't know if you're making fun of me, but I am a Bible lover. It's the most incredible book ever written. I just did the vinegar chemtrail experiment, and it actually worked. I don't know what that is. That's interesting. Ever since the fall, I don't see any more spraying, which is interesting. Um, you boil down 4 liters of vinegar down to 2 liters, and all of a sudden, the chemtrails. All right, you're making fun of people now. Um, Turkey tails are a mushroom that enhance the immune system. Yes. And turkey tails are a great one that you can wild forage for. The turkey tail is one that I haven't been brave enough to identify and then try to eat, because there's false turkey tails that look pretty darn similar. So that's one I haven't done yet. But what have I done? Chanterelles, oysters. I found reishi before. Morel is one I really want to find that I haven't found yet. So I've been trying to learn a little bit. War is a racket. That's right. It's never about us. Henry Kissinger, which is as an absolute demonic scumbag, he said that military men are just dumb pawns to be used. So that's what the elites think of the military. We're just a pawn in their little game for power and money. I found Curtis when he was writing about spin gardening. Yep, yes. He some of his techniques he took from spin farming, and then went on even further. The Bible is the only ancient book that talks about microbes. Yeah, that is. It's yeah, I forgot if it's was that with Moses and they're talking about washing the hands. I can't remember, but yes, it's. I know what you're talking about. Okay, interesting experiment. The vinegar experiment. Oh yeah, I'll have to ask him about that. I haven't heard about that one. So many false turkey tails. I'm scared to forage. I know the false turkey tails scare me too. But I think the good thing with a lot of those the edible wild ones that we eat that are more common, like if you eat the wrong one, for many of them, it's like you're just gonna get food poisoning basically, not die. But yeah, be careful with mushrooms. That's for sure. Nice. Kissinger's on the bar. Power generation. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, power is one thing that I don't have. I don't have solar. I have a generator, but yeah, if we lost power for a long period of time, that would be a problem. Kissinger, yeah, he's still alive, still pulling the strings. Soros, all these people. Those are all like the front men, like people out in front, that they show to us. But yeah, it's pretty wild, man. If you go read those guys' books and their writings, it's wild what they say. But then you got people that'll like troll you and say that you're crazy. But it's like, bro, just go read what they say and then look at the world that they're creating and the laws being written. Like, it's just so obvious. But people like to keep their head in the sand so they can live their little bubble life. Wild mushrooms are like Russian roulette. Nah, nah, not chanterelles. Go for chanterelles. That's one of the easiest. Like, it's pretty hard to screw that one up. Chanterelles. What's another one that's? What's the other one that's really easy? Yeah, I like chanterelles. Chanterelles are also my favorite. If I start foraging mushrooms, I'll test them out with my brother-in-law. That's a really good idea. Can you warm water through solar? Yes, you can. You can do a um, solar shower. So what you do is you do need some electricity, or it could be fed through gravity. But essentially, make a little outdoor shower, and then at the top you have a metal tank that you pump water up into. And I've used one of these before, and it works extremely well. The sun hits the metal tank, it heats up that water, and then you turn a valve that gravity feeds that water onto you while you shower. And that's just like an explanation of a very simple solar shower. I'd love to build one out here um, someday. Composting toilet. I'd love to do all that stuff. That's so interesting about the vinegar thing. That doesn't make any sense. But okay, if Curtis said it, I'll check it out. Nice, Rita. God is the master gardener. That's right. Yeah, something one of the things that helped me believe in God, because I used to just whatever, just not believe whatever. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know where we are, what we're doing, but I'm just living my life. But one of the things that woke me up was the design of nature and just seeing once you've worked with nature and studied all this like the Korean natural farming and all this soil biology, all this stuff, once you study that long enough, you can like start to create these connections and these fractal patterns in your mind, like between all of these different organisms, and it's just it's just mind blowing that all of this exists, that we're here, that the way that nature works, the way it works, so the idea that there is synergy between all of these different organisms when supposedly all of this came into existence out of chaos, not order. That's what these supposed scientists claim. That doesn't make any sense. Things are going from order to disorder. That's the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, I think. You guys will correct me. But so the world is incredibly ordered. It has to be ordered by an orderer. Like if there's a painting, do you assume that the painting just came into existence from nothing, that material came into the world from nothing, that doesn't make any sense. So the only way for the painting to get there is for a painter to have painted it. The only way for a building to be there, would you ever assume that it just came out of, it just appeared there? Or would you assume that someone designed and built the house? Even AI, look at AI, that's all human programmed. It'll never actually have a mind. It'll always be operating on ones and zeros. And so once you can realize that about nature, you're only the only conclusion you're left with is that there is a creator. And even like Richard Dawkins, basically, he has admitted this now, that basically what the atheists have to go to if they deny God, because there's obviously a creator. You've got basically two choices that you'll see a lot of them talk about. This is a simulation. That we're all just in a simulation, a simulated world. Um, that allows for a creator, right? Or it's aliens, an outside force beyond humanity came and created this and whatever panspermia or whatever like theory they want to try to create. Okay, so they don't have to admit that there is a creator, that there is someone that we are responsible and accountable to, that we're not just free to do whatever we want. Well, we are free to do whatever we want. God gave us that freedom to have free will and to not choose Christ. He gave us that freedom um, because he loves us. And so, where am I going with this? Just the fact that, oh, yeah, that atheists, those are their only two choices, really. Unless you want to deny reality and say we popped into that, all of matter, all of everything popped into existence from nothing. You can believe that, but it takes more faith to believe that logically, rationally, than it does to believe that there's a God and a creator, because I can see the creation. I know that there is a creator of this and a designer of this. Um, and it even says that in the Bible in Romans 1, that there is no excuse for any man. I'm misquoting of the Bible a little bit, but that there's no excuse to deny God because all of creation is telling you he exists. So that is one way that you can know that God exists, by observing the world that we live in. And it's funny because at the end of the day, guess what? If you believe that the world came into existence from, or the humanity came into existence from aliens, or that it's a simulation, guess what? Now you have to answer another question: who created the aliens? Who, um, who programmed this simulation? Right? Those things can't happen without a mind. So now you're only left with, logically, because who created the aliens? Well, something created the aliens. Well, then who created that? And who created that? It's an endless loop. You never get to the final thing. That's why, as a Christian, if you believe in the God of the God of the Bible is all powerful, all knowing, and exists outside of time, space, and matter. Because just like if you look at the Big Bang, or like that's the theory that most scientists would say is how we came into existence. Time, all those things came into existence in one moment, right? Time, matter, and space. So in order to create those three things, the thing that created that cannot be one of those three things, right? Something outside of it has to create it. So that's what's called, Aristotle called it the unmoved mover, the uncreated creator, the thing, it has always existed, it will always exist, it's timeless, it's spaceless, it's, yeah, and that is the description of God, or the Godhead. I guess you could describe it that way. So, anyways, I'm just telling you more my personal and story, I guess, of why I believe in God personally. It's not because of an experience per se. It's actually because of logic and evidence in the world around me. And then you can go into the Bible itself, the archaeological evidence, um, the textual criticism of how do we know that an ancient document is the ancient document that was originally written. And there's just, you know, overwhelming. The evidence is unbelievable when you really look into it. I just denied the evidence for forever. I just kept repeating the same old, well, didn't you know that Constantine in 400 AD, he's the one who created the Bible and they removed all this stuff and blah, 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 which isn't true. The Bible was formed, most scholars believe, between 100 and 120 AD. The entire Bible, Old and New Testament, completely finalized and done, and everyone agrees upon these books. Anyways, I'm not going to get into Bible and church history, but um, if you just repeat what you're told by these atheists or whoever, it's the same thing as repeating the stuff about COVID or repeating the stuff about climate change. Like, you need to like look into it yourself and determine what is true with your own God-given mind. Don't listen to other people and just parrot it or accept it. Like, it's crazy to do that, especially nowadays. Like, obviously I'm saying that about myself too. So, I don't know. Those are just fun thought experiments to think about for you guys if you're interested in that sort of thoughts, right? Because why are we here? Why do we exist? Why are we on this planet? Um, and if, what's going on in the world, I hope that that does shake a lot of people up. You can really see the evil in the world. Why is there evil, guys? Why do you think that exists? Or why is that here? Um, if there's evil, but there's also good, we experience good here, don't we? So why is there good too? And where's that good from? And anyways, these are all interesting things to contemplate that I think everybody should think about. Don't just say, I don't know. I don't know about God. Whatever. Like, I don't think those are things you should put off. And I put those things off for my whole young adult life. I didn't want to think about those things because if you believe in the Bible, God's calling you to live a different way. He's calling you to live a completely different way than what the world is going to tell you to do. And I used to think that like everything in the Bible and God was like he was trying to control me and tell me, you got to live this way and you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't have fun and you can't. But that's not true. What I realized is it's basically the same thing as a parent does to their child. The parent disciplines their child because they love them. They tell them what's wrong because they love them and they don't want them to do something that's going to hurt them. Don't touch the hot plate, you might burn yourself. Don't XYZ because this might happen. And so that's what God is doing for us. He's saying don't don't the 10 commandments. Don't lie, don't commit adultery, don't whatever, right? Love, don't have any other gods before Yahweh. Whatever, all those things. It's not to control you, you know. Get married, don't have sex before marriage. All those sorts of things. Like it's not to stop you from having fun or doing things that you would enjoy. It's because if you do things outside of God's law or outside of the world, because He created this world, if you do things outside of that system, there's going to be negative. I till my earth, there's going to be a negative consequence from that. It's going against the design, and that's what it is. And it's you know so that's why it's important to follow the rules and follow those laws. It's like I don't want to be a Christian. I don't want to follow Jesus. That sucks, man. Like I want to do exactly what I want 24/7 and not have anybody to look over my shoulder to nothing. But that's not reality. Um, and We are accountable. Like we are going to have to give account someday at the end of our life. And it's important to know who created you and who loves you more than anything, more than your parents, more than your husband or wife ever could. Um, Jesus, your creator, is the only one who can give you that. All right, guys, we'll go back to some farming stuff. But thanks for letting me talk a little bit about other things that I believe, other than just farming stuff. And that's kind of I enjoy doing that with you guys on live streams, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel, I don't know, um, bad or negative, or like I'm just telling you what I believe because I believe this is the truth, and and Jesus tells me I have to tell you um, the good news, that there is a way to stop, to escape death, to stop sin. The wages of sin are death, and the evil things that we do. There has to be a payment for that. There has to be justice. right? Everyone's looking for justice, right? That's the whole thing, social justice that the left wants. But they will never, you'll never attain justice in this world, true justice. It's never going to happen. Only God can provide true justice. And if God's a just God, he can't let sin be around him. He's pure goodness. He's pure light. There is no darkness in him, and that's why he has to quarantine that away from himself. So he's allowing us to have free will on this earth. To He's calling to you constantly. You may not know it or recognize it, but he was calling to me for all those years that I denied him. He was showing me he was real. I was bringing people to tell me about Christ and all sorts of crazy things that happened in my life that eventually led me to realize it is real. He is real. Um, so, anyways, no, this that Jesus is not an allegory for the sun. That's been disproven 1,000 times. So that's one of those examples of you're just like parroting those atheist or new age arguments. Like, you need to actually study it. Like, don't read the interpretation of the data, read the data yourself, and then you interpret that and you come to the conclusion. Don't just say Constantine created the Bible. Like, that's not true, and no biblical scholar, like actual biblical scholars, agree with that. Like, that makes no sense. So you can, you know, believe what you want, guys, but you know, I how has it been trying to influence local farmers who are growing the Roundup Ready corn and soy? Um, so far, let's see. As far as the big farmers go, like 500 acres or more, other than developing a little bit of friendships or like some sort of relationship with them, that's as far as I've gotten. There is the guy that is supposedly going to buy the 500 or so acres that surround me. Supposedly, he's interested in uh, organic farming. So I told him who I am, and I can introduce you or get you consulting from from people that could really help you if you're interested in doing this. So we'll see. Um, me and my friend Tennessee Mountain Farm Blake, he's doing regenerative ag. He's from this area, and he knows everybody right from this local area. So over time, we're just trying to expose people to what we're doing on our farms. He knows a lot of local farmers, right? So they're seeing what he's doing. They're like, "What? You got no protein buckets? Where are your protein buckets for your cattle? Why aren't you feeding hay yet?" Questions like that, which they're baffled by. Why aren't you feeding corn? Da 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 da. So we are slowly having an influence here, little by little. But what it takes to convince these older farmers is, the proof's in the pudding. It's in the money that you can make. The proof's in the grass that you grow, and all the final product. Blake he just butchered a cow, and the marbling was incredible on it. The color of the meat was incredible, and I think one of his local farmer people he knows was like, "Dude, there's no way Blake did that without feeding corn." Like, they can't believe it because they're so locked into the old way of thinking. Like, they don't know anything about regenerative agriculture because they learned from their grandfather, or they went to ag school, or they whatever. Like, they just didn't. If you're not on the internet, or if you're not on the internet, you don't really know. Or like, there's a reason why all the first generation farmers, they only gravitate towards regenerative ag, because that's obviously the best type of farming. Like, why would you farm any other way? Why would you go conventional? Like, other than like that's what your family does, and you have the infrastructure and the money and the all the wealth and the tools to do it. So the only people that farm large acreage are people that have a lot of wealth in their family over the generations that they've been farming, and they've acquired resources and this and blah 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 over the years. Thank you for the super chats. So nice of you. Let's see what you said. Tuba Tuba says, "I appreciate the religion talk, especially since it's being attacked, which reminds me of the communists back in Albania. A lot of things are getting similar nowadays." Absolutely, Tuba. I always think about the all the different immigrants that came from Cuba, from Eastern Europe, from all these places that had horrible regimes ruling over them, and they escaped to America. Thank God you guys got here. You raised your family here. You believe in American values and freedom and all that. And and now to see it being stripped away, I'm sure is very disconcerting. And I'm sure some of you guys even feel like, God, we moved here and now it's happening here. But guess what? Like, this is the story of the world. Like, this just keeps happening over and over and over again. Like, where these, like, we become weak as a society. We start allowing more and more sin and evil stuff. This is what I'm talking about God, guys, because this all relates. Why do you think that they're mutilating children's genitals, telling them that they can switch genders and all this insanity? Why do you think they're doing that? This happens a lot. This happens, like, look at the end of the Roman Empire, the end of the Greek Empire. It all ends with orgies, pedophilia, just murder, mayhem, violence, just, the gladiators and all that. Like, that was all the end stage of their society. Like, and this is what happens at the end. um, and this is what happens when you indulge sin is real. People don't like to hear that word sin because it's a mirror, and you're feeling that guilt within yourself. And so we're all responsible ultimately for what has gone in the world. If we would all follow what Jesus said, the greatest commandment, to love God with all your mind, heart, soul, strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. If we all followed that ethic, if we all followed the 10 Commandments, how would our world be? How would our world be? Would we have all this evil stuff? No, this evil stuff wouldn't be going on. So it does come back to that. It comes back to morality. This, if you don't have a moral society, it doesn't, like, freedom's worthless without morality. And the founding fathers recognized this. And I honestly didn't I didn't fully believe that until now that we've seen what we've seen. I never thought the United States would fall as far as it's had, and especially in the moral way that it has so quickly, that now I can see that without a moral culture, you have nothing. It's over. Like, you just burn everything to the ground at that point. It's done. Like, it's gonna fail. So, that's why the solution. I say that there's no political solution, because there is no political solution. Politics is downstream from culture, and if you're not trying to change the culture, then politics is going to get worse. And this is what happened, and this is what the left did very and very wisely. They, in the 60s, grabbed the culture. It's called cultural subversion, or China, Russia, whatever, different countries, European, other influences, try to influence American culture and try to manipulate it and steer it in certain ways, for their own agendas, to push us towards, in my opinion, global government and the things that we're going to, you know, start seeing rolling out more and more. So, um, without addressing morality and sin, there is no future for our country or any country. It's all going to fall apart. So that's why the family is so important. That's why they attack the family. That's why they promote LGB, all that stuff. Because if if you have a strong family with a strong man and a strong woman raising a family, um, you can't control those people, especially if they're growing their own food. You can't brainwash them. There's nothing you can do to them. Like, look at the Amish. Like, I live near, Amish and Mennonite, and you know to me, what we need to do is create privatized communities like that. That's the future for people who want to remain free and healthy and prosperous. Going along with the world's culture will end in destruction, as we're seeing. I expect the United States to break up into pieces, and that's actually, you can look up the different agendas on what they would like to do to the United States, and they do have it is in the plan to break the United States up into a bunch of different districts. But I see that happening almost inevitably, because how can you have a nation that can't agree on what men and women are? It's not possible. So it's wild. It's a wild time to be alive. It's a wild time to see what we're seeing. Hey, thanks, Internal Vigilance. I appreciate the compliment. I'm having fun doing this with you guys. I love being. Everyone likes to be able to share what they think, right? And I appreciate you listening. Yes, Yuri Bezmenov, Tuba Tuba knows. Yes, you look up the Yuri Bezmenov interview with, oh my gosh, the creature from Jackal Island. Oh man, gosh dang it, I'm forgetting his name right now. But anyways, that's an amazing interview, probably the best interview in the last 100 years with any human being. If you want to understand like cultural subversion, the morality destruction, like how other countries will use propaganda to manipulate the people in different nations. Yeah, Yuri Bezmenov. G. Edward Griffin. Thank you, G. Edward Griffin. He is an amazing man. Gosh, that guy did so much for the truth movement, and waking people up to the Federal Reserve, the monetary system, the banking system, the fiat currency, all that craziness. He is fantastic. Yuri Bearsmanov, yeah. Where my bears at? Yeah, hit that like. So, uh, yeah, that's such a good interview. It's such a good interview. um, yeah, what else are you guys talking about? Well, let me scroll up. Back. Hmm. You guys got any more farming things or anything else you guys want to talk about? Cool, guys. Homeschooling with the Freedom Project. Nice. Yeah, homeschooling. That's been amazing. That's been an amazing. So there has been a lot of incredible things that have happened since the scamdemic, right? So many people woke up to a lot of the things that I'm telling you about. Maybe many of you, like I've mentioned certain things that you're like, oh yeah, I just learned about that. I didn't know that was true until I looked into it. But yeah, I think homeschooling now in America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but it's way over 10% of children are now homeschooled. That's gigantic. Like when I went to public school, there was brainwashing going on, but it's now it's just a full on indoctrination camp. I mean, to send your children to a public school now is like literally child abuse, like literally child abuse. They're going to tell your children all sorts of sexual lies and introduce them to sexuality at 6 years old. That's what they're doing in California and New York. It's disgusting. It's pedophilic. It's all of those things. And so the only way, you have to protect your children from the world, from the culture. It's so important. So important. I didn't understand that until I became an adult. Of course, as a teenager, I hated my parents trying to control what I looked at and saw, but it's incredibly important um, because children are being lied to in ways I never thought possible. I never, in my wildest dreams, would have thought we would see what we're seeing going on to children in America, especially. It's unbelievable. But yeah, homeschooling, guys, you got to do it. Do make every sacrifice you can to homeschool your kids. I don't. I mean, I don't care. I don't have kids, but I don't care what it takes. You got to get them out of there. The future really, like I said, it's private communities, but it's like I guarantee you, I could find someone in this community that's a teacher that's not going to brainwash my kids. That you could get 10 families together and you pay that teacher to rate to tutor or school the kids or whatever. I mean, that wouldn't be that expensive. That's way cheaper than private school. Like if both parents need to work, like you could do something like that. And there's so like a education co-op essentially, an educational private membership association. Like there's so many ways to operate in the private and do things outside of the system. Um, that like there's no excuse anymore in my opinion. Like there's just so many good homeschool programs online that you can use too, that you cannot leave your children in public school. It's insanity to do that. And do not go to university, guys. Like if there's any young people listening, do not go to college. Take that money that you were going to use and try to create a business. Take that money and go travel for a few months, or just get a job And that will be way more valuable to your life than anything that you will experience in university. I promise you. I spent 4 years there, especially if you're someone that, like me, who is able to educate themselves, who's able to, who's a self starter, right? Who can go out there and do stuff. And which you can learn how to do, even if you're not that type of person yet. You can learn to do that. You can teach yourself how to do anything. So just you got to get out there and make the change yourself, because there's nobody that's going to do it for you. Nobody's coming to save you. Trump's definitely not going to save you, or whatever politician you like. There's nothing that they will ever do. Like the politician, that they will only ever hurt you. There's nothing they can do to help you. So just don't even don't even put any hope in that. What's his name? I'm trying to remember one homeschool program that I like. Oh, what's his name? Have you grown peas in California at this time of year? Um, you can do it. I don't know when you need to seed them though. I bet you could. Yeah, you could plant them now, and I think you can do it. Definitely. Yeah, you know what? No, that's not true. I did overwinter some peas, and like they did live in San Diego through the winter, and they produced a tiny bit of fruit. But anyways, you can do that late summer planting and then harvest all the way in like deep into winter, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, Ron Paul has a great homeschool program. Oh, Classical Learner. I really like Classical Learner. He's on all the social media platforms. He has really great, I think, programs like if you, especially for teaching your kids like true history and how to really analyze history for yourself, right? Like looking at the primary source documents, not documents that have been interpreted and then they write an article. Like you analyzing the evidence for yourself, and teaching your kids like true skills. Like I'm a fan of not actually homeschooling; it's called unschooling. I don't have children, so it's like my opinion isn't that, maybe not that valuable, but unschooling is so cool because it's completely individualized to the student and to the child. So like whatever they're interested in, that's what you do for the day and that's what you learn. So like if your kid's interested in painting or programming or gardening or whatever, like you could just either watch YouTube videos for free, or there's like 1,000 really great courses by great teachers all over the internet that you could pay $50 for, and they can learn from an amazing teacher, and then do it at home. And then so that's just like I really like that, especially for like teaching kids business. I think that's the best way. Like so if the kid's interested in painting, for instance, like painting's a hard way maybe to make money or whatever, but um teach them how you can make a business around something, and then they can learn all the skills: reading, writing, math, communication, anything you can think of, critical thinking. All those things can be taught through running a business. And then as you're teaching them about business from 12 years old or younger, by the time they're 18, they've been making all these mini businesses for the last 6, 7, 8 years. By the time they're 18, you know how smart that kid's going to be. Do you know how self-starting and self-motivating that kid is going to be for their adult life? I mean, it's ridiculous. So get your kids out of the indoctrination camps and get them on a self-education program, or some of these other ideas that I'm talking about. Anyways, Classical Learner is somebody that I think that's created some great lessons for kids. If some of that sounds good, Brett Pike, correct, Classical Learner. And I actually met Brett at the Beartaria Times National Festival, and I met some of the other speakers there, and I met tons of the bears there too. So I don't know if any of you guys listen to Owen Benjamin's podcast, um, you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, it's an awesome community of homesteaders and families. Someone wants to learn German here. I'd take some time for it on Saturday. Yeah, you should start a community like that where people can live as God intended us to live. So I'll give you guys a story about intentional communities because I got to experience one here in Tennessee, actually. That was the first um, experience of Tennessee that my wife and I had. We came here, I don't know, it was 8 years ago, and we took a permaculture design course at a place called The Farm in Middle Tennessee. and they are intentional community that was started in 19, I think 69 or 1970. They were some of the original hippies that left uh, Haight and Ashbury in San Francisco. They went to Woodstock, and anyways, they came on their caravan of buses through America looking for a place to settle, and they found this place in Tennessee. They ended up buying 1,000 acres, which at that time was, I don't know what they paid, like, a few $1,000s for like a couple hundred acres. It was something crazy. I can't remember now, but and they created a community. Of course, being hippies, they tried to create a communist utopia, and it failed miserably, of course, because guess what happened? There was thousands of people living there. They all were supposed to pitch in and help to do the farming for building things, but of course, it's human nature. There are slackers and people that don't put in effort, especially in the hippie community, and those people were freeloaders, of course. And what ended up happening, people got pissed and like, you're not helping and da da da. So tons of people got kicked out. They eventually had to privatize this property essentially. And basically what happened is, yeah, they had to sell off the lots privately. They still have a community like law book for their private area, but um, it completely failed. And it's been funny because like I follow like one of the people I met there who taught me about beekeeping. Actually, I saw him post on Facebook. The guy's still pro-communist and still pro-socialist, like collective mindset. Even though he witnessed the absolute um, destruction of his own community, even on a small scale, socialism doesn't work. Even on a small scale, communism can't work. Communism can only work within the family unit. No one is willing to sacrifice for another human being unless it's their family. And even then, people a lot of times won't do it. So, believing in a collectivist culture where you're robbed at gunpoint, i.e., taxation, will never work because of human nature. And it's so obvious, but they still think it's going to happen. Even people like this guy I'm describing, he still thinks that communism is going to work. It's just never been tried correctly, right? That's what they all say. And so that's why I just like, I've said earlier, like, we're never going to get rid of these people, like these brainwashed sheep people that just beg for authority to put the boot on their neck. Those people aren't going away. They will always exist. Evil people will always exist. And that's why it's so important for good people, or people that at least believe in some sort of like that there is objective truth. It's so important for us to speak up and say things, because when people like us have stayed silent for decades, evil pushes, and now we are at a now our society is at the place that it is. Evil, something that I didn't believe for a long time. Evil's always pushing forward, always trying to take ground. That's Satan's always trying to take ground from us. And what it takes is the good people to resist and to push back against that. You have to. Otherwise, but because good is never. It's good is good, the good people are like they're fine just staying in the current place. That's why it's called conservatives a lot of times. But you're trying to conserve your beliefs, your cultures. There's not change happening. Progressives, they're not happy with the status quo. They want to change it to eventually reach, in their mind, some sort of utopia or better society that they will never achieve or reach, because their philosophy is flawed at its root. So it can never work, no matter how many times they try. So, yeah. Oh, what'd you find, Millie? She found a bone over there. So for IMO, do I collect IMO? Of course, yeah. I showed some IMO 3 earlier. I do need to do a collection. Maybe I'll do a video about that. I need to do a video about IMO collection. So this is a good time. Fall is one of the best times. Fall and spring are the best times to get your indigenous microorganism collections. Really good diversity and good fungal growth is happening at those times. So yeah, get those IMO boxes out right now. It's a really great time. If you maybe don't have a place to do that, but when all the leaves fall, collect all those leaves and start your own leaf mold piles. Just a pile of compost that is strictly leaves, and that's going to give you biology that's extremely good. That you can make a extract out of to get the biology, or you can make Jadam microbial solution, which is a lesser version of IMO. Have you been able to keep fairly distant from 5G? Yes, there will never be 5G where I'm at. Thank God. Um, on my phone, you can download an app, whether you're on Android or iPhone, you can turn off the 5G and just use 4G. In case you didn't know that, that's what I do. Um, but I don't know. I'm not that concerned about Wi-Fi and that radiation. It doesn't. It does have an effect. I just don't. It doesn't seem like the effect is that massive. Um, and I say that just because I don't see these Wi-Fi signals and things like that. It doesn't seem to be having that big of effect on nature, like birds and bees. And I think that it's the chemicals that are having more of an effect on those animals. I don't know. I'm just speaking from. It seems like to really damage yourself from that radiation, you need to be very close to the emitter, whether that's your Wi-Fi router or whatever it may be. I don't remember the app's name, but if you just search, you can find them. Yeah, it's pretty funny when people they always comment either on my videos or a live stream, like when they disagree with me, like they have to tell you that they disagree, and that's like it's just so funny. Like that's such a reflection on themselves of like why do you need to tell me that you don't agree with what I agree with? I don't expect anybody to agree with everything I'm saying, but you shouldn't agree with everything that I'm saying. I mean, that'd be pretty weird. I don't there's nobody on earth that I agree with 100% on everything. So it's kind of a weird thing to say. Oh, I don't agree with you. Yeah, of course you don't. Like that's kind of obvious. It's kind of like saying Black Lives Matter. It's just like, yeah, it's pretty obvious. I don't know why you need white people to say that black people matter. What? What? Doesn't make any sense. Okay, guys. But there's the brainwashing again. Ow! Come on, kitty. Valley Parks is on the Bertaria app. Yeah, Bertaria Times app on the Play Store. If you want to have a social media that's only homesteading and you're not allowed to, you're not even allowed to talk politics or anything on there. So like no conspiracies, no politics, nothing like that. If you just want strictly homesteading, Bertaria Times app on on whatever it's called, the Play Store or your whatever you call it, iPhone. I'm getting cold every time. That's why I keep moving. So behind me, you can get a good view of the kudzu. Kudzu is this extremely invasive vine that's here in the south. I think it's from Japan. I could be wrong about that, but um, it's gnarly stuff. Yeah, Bertaria is pretty sweet. Do I know of Russ Finch? That name sounds familiar. Geothermal greenhouse. That sounds amazing. Yeah, okay, yeah, if he's doing it in Nebraska, then that's the guy to listen to if you guys want to do citrus or super cold stuff. That sounds amazing. I mean, I'd love to build something like that. That takes a lot of money though that I don't have. So, um, someday maybe. But yes, you can force LTE only. I don't know the name of the app. I just searched like turn off uh turn off cinco. How do you say G in Spanish? Hey. Uh there's an app like that. Um yes, that is why Bertaria is such a good app because they do massive amounts of censoring, but it's censoring to just be only family friendly content. So, I try to not follow too many of the truther people on my social media, but I still like to a little bit to, to see the dank memes and, to hear what's going on here and there. But it is social media really gets into you into a negative place because of seeing current events and news and things like that. But that's why Bertaria Times is so cool. They don't allow that, and that's just the culture that they're trying to breed on their platform, and I think that's fantastic. What high school did you go to? How did you know? Yes, I went to Grossmont High School. I graduated in 2005, right? That's crazy. But yeah, 2005. Dude, that yeah, so is that my 20-year anniversary coming? That's crazy, man. Uh, all these old people when I was growing up were like, time flies, like you won't believe it. All of a sudden you're going to be 40, all of a sudden you'll be 70, and unfortunately they're right. Sorry, young people, but time does fly. Patrick Henry, I know Patrick Henry. I did a farmer's market there when I was starting my market garden. Gosh, it is definitely warmer here, but it is quite sunny. I can't see you guys. I have to get close to the camera so I can see you guys. So I'm looking for something that you guys are saying that we can talk about. After 3 hours of live streaming, like your brain kind of goes dead. It gets harder to talk. I'm not like an extreme extrovert person. I'm really an introvert, but I've trained myself to get better at being in public. Watching from French Polynesia. Wow, that's amazing. Hey, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Toa Nui. Cool name. See, like that would be so cool. Like if I can ever get popular enough on YouTube or something where I could afford to like travel, how cool would it be to go to French Polynesia and learn some of the indigenous techniques that they learn, or like in Africa or India or Asia. I want to go back to Asia and film some more stuff there. That's another one of my dreams, to be able to show some stuff like that. Because like think about how many farming techniques that we don't know about that are that could be lost because we just don't know. We haven't talked to the people or whatever. I think that'd be so fascinating to see that. Or how cool would that be, like a Netflix documentary of going to like Africa, Asia, South America, like all these different places where like we could learn indigenous farming techniques. Um, trying to hide from the sun. Do I think that regenerative agriculture is worth scaling? Great question, Jake. Great question. I love that question. Yeah, I mean that's a huge topic, really. Yes, the short answer is yes, and well, short answer yes, but also long answer maybe no and yes, because at the end of the day, regenerative agriculture does take a bit more human scale labor just by the nature of it. But the people like Gabe Brown, Chris Trump, uh, White Oak Pastures, Joel Silenton, these are people that have scaled things up pretty good, especially people like Gabe Brown. He's, I think, over 5,000 acres of cattle, cover crop, field crops, and, using cover crops, crimping, those sort of techniques. I don't think we've seen, what I'll say is we haven't seen what large scale regenerative agriculture truly looks like yet, because it hasn't been fully implemented. It hasn't been fully attempted yet. And that's something that I have a real desire to do, and to participate in being one of the people that's trying to do that. Um, just as I've gotten deeper and deeper into green natural farming and all the different biological farming things, I do see those as the big solution to doing things at scale. So, um, my big goal that I've talked about here and there online is that I want to meet. I would love to work with a farmer that is doing GMO corn and soy, and we can switch them out to uh, our own homemade nitrogen and etc. fertilizers, microbial inoculants, Jadam pesticides. Swap out 50 acres with that, and see what happens. So there's a couple potential people that I could do that with someday, but I'm still trying to get better at scaling up KNF, Jadam, and figuring out how to distribute those nutrients at scale and all of that. There's like a lot of things that had to be figured out to do that really well. So that's why on my 4 acre field, right? I've already I did an episode, my solution to the fertilizer shortage. That video goes over that, those concepts that I'm trying to do. So that's what you guys are seeing me do, right? Like my whole YouTube channel is about my journey in agriculture, starting out with market gardening, trying to run a market garden basically on only homemade inputs, which I did. Now I'm out here on bigger farm, 4 acre field there. I'm gonna show, and I'm doing. I already took my soil tests, like I mentioned, um, and microbial tests and stuff, so I can show the improvement over time only using rotational grazing, Jadam and KNF. That's it. I'm not putting anything else on that field, and then we're gonna watch it change over time, and then that's gonna help me get better at those techniques, learn what's more successful than other things, and then we will scale it up again, probably at my friend's farm, Tennessee Mountain Farm, who's got 60 acres, and but that's all grass, right? And then we have a couple friends out here that do corn and soy that I think we might be able to work with at some point. So that is my personal goal in doing all that. Now, what I would like to see integrated into large scale, which is not being done, is KNF and Jadam, or like John Kempf is another great person to learn from. Now, John Kempf, KEMPF, he is on YouTube. He has a great podcast. What is the name of his? If you guys could help me, what is John Kemp's YouTube channel name? But he's an amazing guy doing all sorts of trials, experiments, doing deep scientific research into all these biologicals. And he's more on the Western reductionist mindset than I am, I'd say. But yes, AEA. God, what does that stand for? And but yeah, he's more. So yeah, I would put like John Kempf and Elaine Ingham. I'd put them kind of more in the same camp. Like John Kempf is taking Elaine's work to the next level, but more on that Western reductionist, like sciency, uh, micro, uh, looking at things at the micro. KNF is more large scale, holistic, um, way zoomed out. The best biology you can create, I think, is done through KNF. So I want to see those techniques implemented at scale. That's my personal mission, is to try to do that. Advanced Eco Agriculture. That is John Kempf's company. Look him up. If you're not studying his work, you're missing out on one of the biggest players in regenerative ag. Um, so, so yeah, that's kind of what I'd like to see more. Chris Trump is the guy, one of the few people who's doing KNF at scale and helping other farmers to do it at scale. So I took his, we brought him out to Tennessee last year, and I did his 5-day course with him. And then when he comes back to Tennessee, I'm hoping to be one of his soil stewards to do the advanced training and then help to teach. And then hopefully I'll be able to pick his brain a lot more on scaling up, so he can help me for what I'm trying to do out here. And yeah, that's because of that was a great topic. Thank you, Jake. Yeah, Chris Trump's awesome guy. I mean, I really love that guy. Uh-huh. Yeah, Brandon, let's see, combining interplanting and potentially vertical practices. Yes, that's a must. How small of an area do you believe a family of 4 can grow the necessary food for self-sufficiency? Um, all right, this is a good one. For a family of 4, I mean, at a minimum, I'd want a 1/4 acre minimum for a family of 4. And what you need to realize when raising your own food, gardening will not provide you enough calories to survive. What gardening is for me, for more flavor, for micronutrients, polyphenols, antioxidants, things like that. But for me, animal products, that is where the bulk of my nutrition and
well, most human nutrition is going to come from ultimately. So you need to come up with a animal protein and fat source. Now, the most obvious and easiest one is chickens, layer chickens. Everybody should have layer chickens if you want to have a homestead, um, or you have someplace to get really good eggs. So, um, and that's something that I've really had to come to grips with now that I do raise a lot of my own meat, is that how important that really is. And if you can't raise your own meat, which I realize that's most people can't, and that's fine. But just make sure that you know your farmer, you have their cell phone number, like you know them personally, and that you let them know that you're you're their best customer, that you want to be their customer for life. I mean, I personally see the future of regenerative ag. A lot of people I think will need to basically create like a club or a yearly subscription model to lock in those customers, to lock in customers basically, because there's going to be such a demand for meat, because the price of meat is going to be so expensive in the future because of what these globalists are going to do to the industry, what I'm currently seeing them do to the industry, what I've communicated with other large scale farmers with around here, what they telling me is going on in the industry. They are attacking meat in a massive way. They're going to blame it on carbon, which is an absolute lie and a fraud. It's all about getting people weak, getting people malnutrition, giving them malnutrition, which most vegans are suffering from malnutrition. That's why so many of them are so psychotic, and so they're not unable to rationalize um, their thoughts in any meaningful way. They eventually, within a couple of years, they have major, major health problems. You can look at many of these famous vegans that are on YouTube or other places. Almost all, like half of them now, half of them have had to switch back, and they've realized, or just talk to any woman who is vegan who's tried to raise a child or breastfeed. Like you should you shouldn't even be having a child if you're vegan. That's insanity. You have a jacked up child. That's child abuse. Children raised on a vegan diet, that's child abuse. That's absolutely disgusting. Like you're damaging your child. There's no um, all of the nutrients that humans need can be found in an animal, and that you cannot say that about a plant. There's countless amino acids and different nutrients that cannot be found in plants that you can only get from animals. Where you're going to get your choline, your taurine, your creatine, um, even like B12 is extremely hard to come by. K2 is extremely hard to come by unless you're eating fermented natto or fermented soybean. Or K2 is massively important for bone density and way more important than calcium. Calcium and magnesium. You need calcium, magnesium, and K2 to build bones. It's not just calcium. So, like, nutrition is so complex that, just like nature, just like farming, like you can't boil it down in this Western reductionist mindset and just say you only need XYZ nutrient, or I can just live off of this. And like, it's just funny because like what people don't understand is like you can't live off your garden through the winter. Do you know how much food you would have to grow and store and can and preserve in order to make it through the winter? Especially let's say you're in north, up in Maine, you're in Canada. Do you know what it would take? Do you have any clue? But these vegans have no idea. They have no clue. You can only be a vegan in the modern society, in the modern era. Without the global food chain, you cannot be a vegan. It's impossible. Or maybe there's a few people out there that are able to do it, maybe. But even then, you're reliant on the industrial food system, which literally kills more animals than people who eat meat. But whatever. Oh, if you're eating regenerative meat, the comeback that vegans always have is, well, but most of the plants that are raised are for animals. Well, we shouldn't be feeding cows corn and soy. And no one's arguing for that. We're only arguing for regeneratively grass-fed raised meat, and that actually heals the soil. So it's just all a big joke. And a family who buys one cow a year, like the amount of death they're responsible for is nothing compared to what a vegan's responsible for. When you talk about the combines and the tillers and all the, they kill deers, rabbits, rats, voles, moles, every single insect, all the microbes that gets wiped out to grow your soybeans, to grow whatever vegetable that you're eating as a vegetarian or vegan. And it goes back to what I spoke about in the beginning of the live stream, is that as a human being, you will never escape death yourself. You will never escape needing the sacrifice of other living organisms for you to survive. And it's just massively important to understand those things if you want to live in truth and reality. And, you know, so going back to help, giving me maybe some more advice on how much you should grow for your own homestead. Yeah, a quarter acre minimum, so that you can do chickens in a huge garden. And you need to focus on, if you're just focusing a lot on vegetables, focus on high calorie, higher protein type things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans. Squash is an amazing producer of food. Mm, things like that. So that's what I would recommend. You know, definitely get some fruit. You want some fruit trees growing for sure, like apples. You know, fruit that's easy to store for a long period of time. So like I love stone fruit, but it doesn't store very well. Whereas an apple, you can store that for months and months, especially in cold storage. A lot of the apples that you're eating in the grocery store in the spring, they're like 6 months old, 8 months old. You know, it's um, or whatever. I might have said that wrong, but the apples that are in the store usually are quite old. They're just been kept in cold storage. Same thing with like onions and all sorts of things. Yeah, decentralizing every system is the answer. That's the only way to take away power from these evil people, right? A concentration of power is always going to bring more evil, and human beings are always going to concentrate power in a smaller and smaller group to control the masses in a more effective way. That's just how it works. Like that's what we do for animals, guys. Like human beings are literally being farmed like animals. They These so-called elites call us chattel, tax chattel, and they say that in their writings. They think of us as animals. They farm us like animals. Like we're all slaves. Slavery may have ended in the Western world uh, to, well, 150 years ago, but it didn't end. It just transitioned. Now the whole world is a slave, and we all pay 50% of our half of our income goes to the government. That's called being a slave. It's another way to put it. Yeah, you might not be in chains, but as we found out during the scamdemic, they're trying to control where you go, what you do, what you put in your body. Like it's becoming more and more closer to slavery that we saw 150 years ago. And there's, you know, horrible. There's more slaves in the world today than there was during that time. Unfortunately. Yes, we are the collateral. Um, So yeah, guys, animal protein's huge. If you need to figure out a way to raise animal protein, and eggs are the best. Like, you don't even need to raise like meat. That's a cool thing. That's what I always recommend to vegans too, or vegetarians. It's like, dude, just eat eggs. It'll solve all those nutritional problems that you guys have. It'll fix all of them. Just eat pasture raised eggs. They're the chickens are being well taken care of. They're living their best life. Like, what do you have to like? What are you worried about? It's just it's just so disingenuous to their own philosophy of doing the least amount of harm to animals. You're not even taking advantage of them. They're gonna lay that egg regardless. Like, it's just so it's mind blowing to me. But eggs, eggs are the thing, man. If you can do that, I eat 6 eggs a day usually. I've been getting better at eating raw eggs. I was gagging the first when I first started, but now I was yesterday I downed three. I was able to like and send it down. So it's like a really quick, easy snack. That's like the best food on the planet. My cat that you saw with me, 50% of their diet as they were kittens were eggs. I raised them 50% on eggs, and it's funny. Like it kind of drives me crazy. Like what's his name, Dave Asprey and Carnivore MD. They keep talking about like how if you eat raw eggs, that avidin binds up the biotin, and then you become biotin deficient. But I don't believe that. It's not, I don't think it's true because like they're basing that off of a scientific study. But what does scientific studies always do? It's reductionist. It's not looking at the full picture. How did my how do how did these babies grow good bones and hair and their nails when I gave them that, they would have never been able to absorb biotin like if that's the case. Um, there's been people that have been eating raw eggs every day for like a decade. How come they don't have problems with biotin absorption? So I don't buy that at all. I don't know for a fact. This is just my guess, but when I looked into some of those studies that they were quoting, they were injecting biotin into the body while they were eating the raw egg whites. Excuse me, the raw egg whites. If you don't cook them, that is supposedly what binds with um, biotin, and then it just dumps out of your body. So, anyways, that's just another one of my health things that I don't go along with the mainstream, even the main, these the more health conscious people, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up when I've done these experiments, and I don't see the consequences of that. So, um, that's something you'll see those people say, but that's why I say don't trust anybody, even the people that do. Like Dave Asprey and Carnivore MD know a lot, but not everyone knows everything, and everyone is wrong about different beliefs or things that they hold, especially when it comes to nutrition and science. That's always changing. Someone from Finland. This could be interesting. Let's see. Where I come from, sheep is an amazing way to produce meat. Sheep eat all the green stuff. We wouldn't. And you get practically free meat in return every year. That's why I'm raising sheep. That's exactly right. And that's why I chose to raise sheep. It's so cool. You're raising them for free, and they're improving the land. I don't have to use gasoline or use my time to mow anything. It's incredible. I love sheep. I can't recommend them enough. Exactly. I love what you said, Mickey. Mickey. Yeah, regeneratively raised, 100% grass-fed sheep, cattle, whatever. Those animals, those are the most green, if you want to consider them green, foods that you can eat on the planet. And that's when you understand farming on a very deep level, like I do. That's how you can see through the climate crisis in a second, because you look at the solutions or the way that they describe nature. They don't understand nature. They don't understand farming. They don't know anything. They're complete liars. And then when you look into their data, their temperature data and the carbon collection data that they make all these graphs out of, dude, it's a complete freaking scam. Just like all the COVID numbers, if you know about how they scammed the numbers using the test, using um, the death certificates, the incentivizations of paying hospitals, all these different ways that they did it, it's the same exact method that they use to manipulate all statistics. There's a book that's very famous called "How to Manipulate with Statistics." I think that's the title. Okay, so this is what's going on constantly, all the time, and that's why it's like you got to listen to people that have experience, that truly know about nature. There's not that many people out there that have spent as much time in nature working with it directly as I have, that are also online explaining things or saying things. So, um, anyway, that's why I talk about these things that are controversial, because I've seen it through evidence that either it's true or not true, and that's why I tell you guys this stuff, because nobody else is going to tell you. That's why I told you about bacon and the nitrates. Who's telling? Nobody. Have you heard that anywhere? I've never heard of any health person talk about that, because they've never made their own bacon, and I didn't know either until I made my own bacon. And that's why it takes your own personal experience and knowledge and all that. That is what tells you many times what the truth is, not through reading or listening to someone else. It's great to listen to somebody else, but then take it and try it and experience it. And that is what's going to reveal typically the truth. Yeah, goats are cool, but so I'm anti goat, because, so like all the homesteaders you'll see online, they all talk about goats. They all have goats. But if you're not raising goats for milk, I don't see any reason to have a goat over sheep. It doesn't make any sense, because goats will pull up the roots out of the ground. They will destroy pasture way faster, way more hardcore than a sheep will. You can manage things regeneratively way more easily with sheep. Now, goats are amazing if you need to just drop a bomb on an area and have them just obliterate every single weed, bramble, everything, like this kudzu. That's what they're good for. but I would never run a herd of sheep on my pasture, and like I would not want to deal with that. They're also very good at escaping. They're the most famous escape artist. Sheep are much easier to control with electric netting and fencing and all of that. So if you're going to raise a small ruminant for meat, sheep is the only option. If you want a small dairy animal, oh my gosh, goats are incredible. Absolutely get a goat. But don't get a goat as a pet. I think that's foolish. You're just wasting money. But goats are cool and they have fun personalities, so I get if you want to have it as a pet. This is just my I'm all about function over form most of the time. So that's like my mindset, my philosophy when it comes to farming. Like do what is efficient and effective. Um, but I love goat's milk. I've been buying it for I don't know. I started like 4 months maybe ago buying raw goat's milk, and then I also now make raw kefir, which is incredible out of it. So now I don't buy half and half. I don't buy yogurt anymore. So it replaced that. It might be $10 a gallon, but it replaced those other things I was buying from a store. And the thing that I learned about goat's milk, which I thought was quite interesting, over drinking raw cow's milk. This is my personal philosophy on drinking raw milk, which one you should use. This may change in the future, I don't know, but just from my current research, goat's milk is very high in MCTs, medium chain triglycerides, and though that fatty acid chain is way more usable and absorbable by your body. I believe that it's like instantly absorbable versus long chain fatty acids, which are in cow's milk. It's just a bit more work for your body to digest it. So that's why for me, I think that if you're going to drink milk, raw goat's milk is going to be the best for drinking. It's more easily digestible. It's also more closely compatible to human breast milk. I guess the fat ratios and things like that. It's the closest. So that's why I think it really makes sense for that to be the milk that you drink. But then what the cow's milk is for making your cream, your butter, skim milk, yogurt, all the different dairy products that you may want, cheeses, like long-term stored fermented type dairy products. I think like that's what the cow is so amazing at because it's so high in fat content, which no other dairy animal, well, I may that may not be true. I believe that the cow is the highest fat content dairy animal. So, um, anyways, that's like kind of where I see. Obviously, drinking cow's milk is also amazing for you. I'm not like knocking that, but just from my research, it kind of seemed like that that process or whatever what I just described makes a lot of sense, and that's kind of what I've done. And hey, Deer Park, what's going on, man? Yes, absolutely, and yeah, it's really helped my gut drinking the raw kefir. It's insane what it tastes like too. Like when because I double ferment it, and if I go a little bit longer, basically it like what happens is it's if you've ever made labs in Korean natural farming, the curds in the whey separate. You're making labs essentially, and then you're drinking that. So it's like so alive that you can feel the tingling on your tongue, like the effervescence of all the microbes, or probably the little bit of carbon dioxide that they've created inside of the within the yogurt. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat kefir in terms of like the nutrient density, the B vitamins. It's just unbelievable, and it eliminates, especially when you double ferment, it eliminates most of the lactose. So if you're lactose sensitive, it may be something that you could play with trying to see if it does okay with your gut. Now, my wife, she's Korean. A lot of Asian people do have milk intolerance or lactose intolerance or whatever could be going on. And what we've tried raw cow milk, raw goat milk, and my double fermented kefir. All of it gives her mucus. So for some people, it will not work. But for many people, they can drink raw cow's milk or the raw kefir, and it doesn't affect them like a pasteurized dairy does. And I highly recommend that you don't drink pasteurized dairy ever. It's going to be, I don't know. I think it's detrimental. I don't. I think that the negatives outweigh the positives on a pasteurized dairy. You're denaturing everything. You're eliminating so many nutrients. Your body doesn't now it doesn't have the enzymes, the bacteria to really help it digest. It's just not good. So, that's why like to eat animal products, like you really need to try to focus on finding those regeneratively created animal products. Otherwise, there could be some harm that you're presenting to yourself by eating that meat or drinking that dairy or etc. So that's why once you know these things, it's really important to focus on that. And one big way for you guys to that for me too is to save money on this regeneratively raised products is to buy a half a cow or a pig, a half a pig, or buy a whole lamb, buy it in bulk, and buy yourself a deep freezer. It's a bit of an investment, but I'm buying 100% grass-fed meat at $5, $6 per pound. Okay, which I don't even. It's hard to find. You can't get grass-fed meat in the store that's that, and you don't even know where that animal's from, who raised it, what they did with it, whatever. Like my ground beef is from one cow, and I know the farmer, and I've been to the farm, and I know the grass, and all that, right? So buying that half a cow or that buying the whole animal from the farmer is the best way to not only know your farmer, know the methods, but save yourself a ton of money. It'll be cheaper than the grocery store. When you buy a half a cow or a full cow, you're eating New York strip, filet mignon, ribeyes, all of that for $6 a pound. It's incredible. And then you get all this ground beef, and that's been a great lunch for me actually. That I've really enjoyed recently is that I just cook up like 6 eggs, half a pound of ground beef, a bunch of real sea salt, and maybe some kimchi or some sauerkraut or some pickles, some sort of fermented veggie that we made on the side, and that's my lunch. And for breakfast, what I would do is I'll have like some collagen with some goat's milk, a glass of kefir, maybe some raw eggs, and I'm good to go until lunch. So I stay like super carnivore or like animal based through lunch, and then in dinner typically then that's when I would have rice or potatoes or carbs or whatever or vegetables and stuff. So I've been experimenting. Like I've done keto a couple years ago. I've experimented with my diet, many times over the 12 years I got into agriculture and health and all this stuff. So like I've really experimented on myself to figure out what works for me. And I think that's a really important point that for you guys that health, nutrition, I think that's something that is absolute truth is that it is individual. Nothing like everything like there's some main broad principles to understand, but what's going to be best for your health is what you discover through experimenting on your own diet. And there's something called a GAPS diet. Forgot what that stands for, but it's an elimination diet where you get rid of like all of these foods that can commonly cause people issues like dairy, nightshades, whatever, grains, gluten. You eliminate all of that stuff, see what happens, how you feel, do a blood test. Then you integrate each one of those foods back in one at a time and see what your reaction is to that. Do you get mucus? Do you get inflammation? Is your sleep impaired? Is your mood impaired? Blah, blah, blah. And that's a great way to discover for yourself, not through a doctor or anybody, what you should be eating, what's going to be the best for your health. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna look at any last few interesting things that you guys said, and then I've only got 10% battery, so I'm gonna have to go, you guys. But obviously, this whole live stream will be up. Follow me on Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, some of these other platforms. Sign up for my email list if you'd like some more personal written content coming to you guys. And yeah, got some fun stuff planned for my content always. So please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button before you exit the live stream if you don't mind. All right, let's see what you guys got in here. So you guys got anything else that sounds interesting? Yeah, if you missed the tour, you can go back and watch the whole thing. Lots of good info and tips in here for you guys. Also, oh yeah, great point, Brandon. That hey guys, get out of here. That goat milk is A2 protein and cow is A1. Well, unless you're getting a Jersey A2 genetics. And that just kind of goes back to for production, as they bred cows to make more and more, produce more and more milk. Eventually, like this other gene got created called A1, but the heirloom cows or whatever have the A2 gene, and it's just so it's believed that the A2 gene is going to be more accepted by more people's bodies, be more digestible, etc. So that's a great point. That is why goat's milk's so good. If you want cow's milk, get a A2 Jersey or look for that, and that would be a yeah, camel milk. I have heard about camel's milk. That is also fantastic. In the Middle East, obviously, they're doing that there. I would love to try it. Um, Deer Park. He's breeding Nigerian dwarfs. Nice. Yeah, the Nigerian dwarf is the famous one that a lot of the homesteaders use. They have a higher fat content, I believe, than some of the other breeds. And sheep's milk. I have not tried sheep's milk. I had the opportunity to milk my sheep, but I just don't have enough time to deal with milking an animal. Uh, Maybe in the future. But sheep cheese is really good. I really like that. I think it's fantastic. Um, Anyways, great tips, you guys. I love all the stuff you guys are adding to the chat. Lots of good tips for everybody. Thank you guys so much for participating and joining in on the conversation. And thanks for allowing me to talk to you guys and telling you different stuff that I believe in and think. And that's just so, I don't know, validating or whatever for me to be able to tell you guys about stuff in my life outside of just farming. And I'm um, happy to do that. So, hope you guys have a wonderful day on your farm, on your garden, with your sheep, with your chickens, with your pigs, with your cows, whatever you may have. Hopefully, you're starting a garden this spring. Hope you're thinking about raising animals. And yeah, wish everybody the best. And I will see you guys in the next Nature's Always Right video.